Hello and welcome to Marvel Vision, a Marvel Studios TV show podcast brought to you by Cinema Sangha. My name is Devin Faraci. I am one of the hosts of the program. Joining me as he traditionally does.
My name is Dirk Faraci, and I'd love to tell you what a monster you are, but I have to help Bin Laden's nephew buy a co-op on Park Avenue. How are you, Devin?
I am okay. I finished. You got a text?
That was you. It comes in late on my phone for some reason.
So weird. I finished my Breaking Bad universe rewatch today.
How was it?
Incredible experience. I recommend it to anybody who has enjoyed those shows to sit down and just do the whole thing. Just sit down, go through it. Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, El Camino. And my first time watching El Camino.
There you go. How was it?
I had never seen it. I understand why people didn't like it because it is the epilogue to Breaking Bad, and it takes place like as soon as the finale ends. But it took 6 years to get this movie out. Okay, so everybody felt like they maybe wanted something bigger, and this is not a big story. It's a very small story, and I understand why people didn't like it. I liked it, and I think that if you watch the show all the way through and then go to El Camino after the last episode, it's this nice epilogue to the story, as opposed to like another big event or whatever. So
is it weird that Jesse ages real quick in between shots?
Oh man. So
like between Better Call Saul and then he de-ages for Breaking Bad and then he re-ages for El Camino.
I mean, there is stuff in El Camino. There's flashbacks to Jesse Plemons as Todd. And when they made El Camino, Jesse Plemons had to gain a bunch of weight for Fargo or some movie or something. And so he's fat, like he's fat, like not like, he's fat. And so you just finished watching Todd, who's a young man, and then you just end up over here with fat Jesse Plemons, and it is so weird. So it's very strange. That's how that's how that whole universe works, is that like everybody ages in weird. You have to just kind of roll with the aging.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the one thing that universe asks you to do is just roll with the aging. They're not doing too much work on these actors to make them look young. And as the story is great. So like the story is great. So just you're willing, I believe, to like suspend that Mike gets younger as the shows go on.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway, that's it. I feel really good about it. Now I got to figure out what my next big watch is.
I don't know. I know that's a good question. Maybe you can watch all of Star Trek, like every series.
I was thinking about rewatching Deep Space Nine.
Yeah?
Yeah. I was thinking about doing that. I had done all of Star Trek in 2017. And
really?
Yeah, it took a long time. Yeah.
Is that possible? Like
I mean, it might have taken me 2 years to do all of it, but I also was watching a lot of TV. In 2017, I wasn't on the internet. I was off social media. Yeah. So that really goes a long fucking way towards opening up time in your life.
That's true. That's true.
When you're not constantly refreshing the feed to see what horrible things are happening, when you can just sort of disappear into Star Trek and watch 5 episodes in a day, So that's
but even that, I mean, there's like
there's 700 hours.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, I think
there's even more now, right?
I think it took about 2 years. I said, yeah. Actually, I lied. I didn't rewatch all of TOS. I started with Next Generation, so I watched all the Next Generation shows. TOS is only 70 episodes, so.
But you also got to watch the animated series.
Right, that would be a full Star Trek rewatch. I did not do. I did a TNG. I did a TNG era rewatch, including the movies.
Okay.
So yeah. Anyway, how's life by you?
Good. Today I watched Inside Man, which I haven't seen in quite a long time.
Terrific picture.
Great movie. Forgot that the bank robbery plot is the same plot from Quick Change. So that's exciting. Yeah, where it's like, oh, we'll we'll like hold hostages, and then when we're releasing all the hostages, we'll walk out with them.
Right.
And that's exactly the same plan in Inside Man.
Mm-hmm.
So that I thought was pretty fun. But yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic movie. Absolutely fantastic movie. Can't argue that.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It just
if
played
anybody
over
runs
here.
A theater and is looking to do a double feature, Quick Change, Inside Man. There you go.
It just played here at Vidiot's.
Did it?
Yeah, this weekend, I think. That's why I thought maybe you watched it, because they
I mean,
were.
maybe I saw something online about somebody saying that, and I was looking through my stuff today. I was like, I'm gonna watch Inside Man. I haven't seen that in a long time.
It's a
And
good
it's a
call,
good
man.
one.
It's a
Yeah,
good call. Good
it's a
picture.
good one.
Any. Not. I was gonna say any Spike is good, but that's not true.
Most Spike is good.
I had the opportunity to get 20 minutes of Spike Lee for the first time in my life, to actually meet the man for the first time in my life, and it was for the movie She Hate Me, which is one of the most dreadful movies ever made.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was tough, and he's like one of my heroes as a filmmaker, and it was just such a dreadfully awful movie.
Yeah.
I hate you, that movie, and She Hate Me, I hate you. But he was really great. We had a really great time. We talked about New York City stuff because we're both
Okay.
New York boys, and this was in
Sure.
LA. So he was
Okay.
excited to have a boy from the boroughs talking to him.
Yeah.
And he is just like he is on television.
Is he?
He gets excited. He's like moving around. He's like laughing. He's making references I don't understand. I'm not sure if anybody does.
I don't know anything about that.
A
I'm
lot of
always
basketball
waiting.
shit that I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Oh, he loves basketball. Yeah, that's for sure. He loves the Knicks. I'm always waiting. Like, I can never figure out, are his movies too New York, or is it a racial issue that he never seems to get the same credit that, like, he should be getting, right? Like, he should be up there when people talk about, like, Scorsese and
I mean,
De Palma and
many
whatnot.
serious film people do consider that. I don't know that culturally he has that cachet. I think one of the
Yeah.
problems
He
is
definitely doesn't, because he can't get the same budgets that, like, Scorsese gets, right?
Scorsese. I think there might be a difference here, which is that a lot of late period Spike, he has big ups and downs
Yeah.
in a way that Scorsese doesn't, and that might be part of it. That
But
he's
like Inside Man is his biggest movie, his
yeah,
biggest grossing movie.
yeah.
And after I watched it, I was reading stuff about it. He wanted to make a sequel. He couldn't get it greenlit.
I mean, that is crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, part of it is racial stuff. He's had, it's just his interests and what he makes movies about, and the movies that he makes are just sort of almost mainstream. They're like not quite, but they're almost. And Scorsese makes mainstream movies.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's such a good question. I'm not 100% sure. Definitely, it's got to be some part of it being racial. But like De Palma can't get money to make movies either anymore.
No, that's true. That's true.
I mean, a bunch of those guys can't. They haven't been able to make movies. I mean, Francis Ford Coppola had to sell his fucking winery to make Megalopolis. So
yeah.
I think Scorsese might be the outlier of that group.
I guess Scorsese is, right. Him and I guess Spielberg.
Yeah, but Spielberg's the greatest blockbuster director of all time.
Yeah, we know why Spielberg can do it. Yeah, but yeah, Scorsese, they just keep giving him money.
Yeah,
I don't know what his last hit was. I guess Wolf of Wall Street did well, right? That did pretty well.
So, his movies have been going to Apple, right? And Netflix. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They don't care as much. And so they're giving him a lot of money to make movies that are becoming must-see movies. Again, we talked about this with other stuff. People need to subscribe to the service to see it.
Well, and also awards contenders, right? Like Killers of the Flower Moon is like, let's go get some Oscars.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's more than that. But yes, that is definitely part of what Apple's thinking on that was. And so they want that prestige that comes with the Oscars. That helps them get other directors and stuff like that. And also being really good to Martin Scorsese sends a good message. Every studio guy wants to be the guy who's seen as being talent friendly. David Zaslav's the first guy in a long time who's like, I am talent unfriendly. That's my whole deal.
No, but Warner Brothers is making Paul Thomas Anderson movies and stuff now, right? Like,
yeah, but that's done. That's a $200 million. That's a $200 million movie based on a Pynchon novel. That is supposed to be in the same vein as Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah.
Which it's not going to make $400 million.
No, but what is more talent friendly than we knew this would bomb, but we made it anyway.
I mean, did he get that? I guess Zaslav was around when he got that deal. I don't know. I actually don't know when that deal got.
That was after he brought in Pam Abdi and what's her partner's name? I can't remember, but the two who are running, like, who greenlight stuff from Warner Brothers.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, that is pretty crazy. But I think we're seeing less and less of that across the board. And I think that this is the end of Paul Thomas Anderson having big budgets, is my guess.
Yeah.
I mean, unless he's going to go with independent financing and foreign financing, which he can definitely do.
Or if the movie somehow makes like $700 million.
Which would be fucking incredible. It's hard to imagine, but like,
Yeah.
God bless. Like, I'm here for it. Like, should that happen, I am all about it. I'm just like, on a realistic level.
Yeah.
And that's why Killers of the Flower Moon, which is a masterpiece, by the way.
Beautiful film. Beautiful film. One of Scorsese's best, I think.
That's the thing. So Scorsese's churning out career best work still. And excuse me, I always start yawning at the beginning of this show. I don't know why it is. But no, I know why. Because I haven't been talking all day, so my lungs don't have any experience breathing while talking. And so they start to feel like they're not getting enough oxygen. Because I sit at home by myself with the cat and just talk to the cat. And the only thing I say to the cat is stuff like, oh, he's sitting on a chair. He's the chairman. Oh, look at the chairman over here. Oh, he's good. And that's it. Like, that's the entirety of what I fucking do.
Who do you think I'm talking to all day? I don't have this problem. So, I don't know. You got to rethink it.
Yeah. I'm in worse shape than you are, though.
Yeah, maybe.
No, I definitely am. I'm definitely, without a doubt, in worse shape than you are. I am in the worst shape of my life right now.
I was a smoker, so.
Yeah, I know, but you stopped. That means that your shape is going up from being.
My lungs are rough.
Yeah, but still, you haven't smoked in like a decade, right?
I go back and forth sometimes.
Oh, you still smoking, huh?
No, I smoked recently for like a weekend when I went to the wedding, and that was about it.
Because people were smoking?
I was drinking, and yeah, people were smoking. I was like, yeah, I'll have some cigarettes.
Wow, and you were able to come back home and not keep smoking.
It was rough. I'm not gonna lie. It is very hard not to smoke. I will tell you that. It really is. It really is.
This is what I hear. I have never smoked a cigarette my whole life.
No?
Nope, never, not once. I have smoked a lot of other things,
sure.
But I have never smoked a cigarette. Do you want to hear the dumbest thing I ever smoked?
Sure. Nutmeg?
No, stupider than that. In high school, we were told that if you shaved chopsticks into rolling papers and smoked it, you would get high. So we got chopsticks from the local Chinese place, but they were not wood chopsticks. They were plastic. So we shaved plastic into rolling papers and then smoked plastic and got really sick.
How are you smarter than me? How is that possible?
See, the difference between us is that I have an addictive personality. And so if somebody tells me this will make you feel good, I'm going to go do it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'll try that. Yeah, okay, why not? You don't quite have that same addictive personality the way that I do.
I mean, I was a smoker.
Yeah, but smoking is like a physically addictive. That's like heroin. Like, I keep being told that it's actually easier to get off heroin than it is cigarettes.
Maybe. I've heard that too. I've having never done heroin, I can't say.
But I imagine it's because cigarettes are everywhere.
Cigarettes, well, they're less socially acceptable now than they were when I started smoking. But they're still, you can still buy them at like the corner store.
You can go anywhere and buy them, yeah. And so that's unlike heroin. You got to know a guy who knows a guy to get heroin. You can't just get it.
Yeah.
So
the hardest part when it comes to quitting smoking, I think, is when you quit, but you continue to go to the same store and they know you as like, oh, that's the Marlboro Lights guy. So when you walk in, they just put the pack down and you have to be like, no. You have to like be like, nope, I don't want that. And then they're like, oh, really?
I thought you were going to say the hardest
part. And then
part.
if you fall off the wagon and you start smoking again, you have to go back to them and be like, I failed. And then they know,
I thought that maybe you say the hardest part about quitting smoking is having to get dragged into the office of Quitters Inc. and they cut your wife's fingers off in front of you for each cigarette that you smoked, as in that Stephen King short story, Quitters Inc.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
no.
That's it's a company that helps you quit smoking. That's how they do it. Like they like drag your wife in, and if you have a cigarette, they cut her finger off in front of you.
I'm guessing Saturday Night Live kind of stole that thing because they did that sketch with The Rock where to quit smoking, they have somebody there that'll show up and beat the crap out of you every time you have a cigarette.
Well, I think that Stephen King's idea is more effective because as a smoker, you know it's bad for you and you're still willing to do it. But it's having the wife and the kid involved that is the part that becomes like, wow, that's fucked up. Like you then when you're doing the thing that you like doing, you're actively harming somebody else.
Yeah.
So That's that. That's also adapted into one of the short films in Cat's Eye.
Oh, the new
Uh,
one? Oh, no,
no,
they're
the
doing
one with
Monkey
Drew.
Shines now, right?
The one with, was it Drew Barrymore's in that one?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a terrific. We watched that a couple of years ago, and it's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's like a little on the PG side of things, a little bit. It's, so it came out in the 80s, and it is fucking chock full of Easter eggs at a time when they did not do Easter eggs.
Okay.
So it's like there's a car that comes by and it's Christine. There's like references to other Stephen King things, and that's just the kind of thing that didn't used to happen back then. Like everything was like really deeply siloed, and so like you would never. It was a big deal when in Batman Returns, I think they mentioned Metropolis, and I was like, holy shit! Or is that Batman and Robin? I'm like, holy shit!
I think it's Batman Forever.
Is it? Okay, well, whichever one it is.
It's one of the ones with Chris O'Donnell, because Chris O'Donnell says something about it, I think.
So that's how rare that was. I think in today's interconnected universes, it's impossible to realize how crazy that was. Like back then when Munch was on Homicide and then went on SVU, the same guy, not the same actor, the same guy. That was pretty mind blowing to us back then.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got any news this week?
We do. The showrunner for Daredevil, Born Again, said that compared it to the Penguin, and said we're even more grounded, even less stylized. So that's exciting.
They're more grounded. The show is set on an Earth where gravity is 10 times more, and everybody's just stuck to the ground, dragging themselves along.
Yeah. What a crazy thing to say.
It's really, I think. I mean, the Penguin ends, spoilers, with him murdering his protege.
Yeah.
Like personally, like deeply personally choking him to death.
Yeah.
And with him giving his mother the one thing she did not want, the one thing that she specifically asked not to have, she traps her in. No, you're not getting darker than that. There's just no way.
Well, this is grounded, though. This is grounded. Less stylized.
It's funny because like the Penguin isn't super stylized. Yeah.
No, it's not super stylized. And it's also pretty freaking grounded. It's not like the Penguin's like, let me pull out my wacky umbrellas, right? Like he's running around there shooting people. Like nothing. There's nothing in it that's like out of like comic book wildness, really, right? Like,
I feel like that the characters in the Penguin could show up in Breaking Bad, and they would not feel fundamentally like Breaking Bad, especially as it goes on, gets more of a pulpy feel to it. And I think that they would not necessarily always feel totally out of place, like in that universe, not necessarily in that show, because they're not dealing with East Coast crime guys. But like, I think, I mean, it's like a little bit, it's like slightly.
Like all I can think of, if I was sitting there doing an interview with the showrunner of Daredevil, and he's like, "We're even more grounded," I'd be like, "So Matt Murdock is just blind? He has no superpowers?"
Actually, Matt Murdock was killed when that radioactive stuff killed him. He had cancer and he died 10 years later. So.
Yeah, and his father sued the company, but he couldn't afford good lawyers, so they just dragged it out, and then he died himself. Like, what do you mean you're more grounded? Your character has radar vision. Come on.
Oh man.
That's the kind of thing, like if I was running a TV show, I would like hire some people to like dig up like a fake grave and be like, this is how grounded we are. Our show's like we're in the grave already. That's how we're that grounded. And we are so stylized, it's just photographs, or so unstylized that we're just doing like Polaroid photos on set. And have whatever, sometimes you'll see the lights and whatnot. Who knows?
Actually, it's so not stylized. We're just using the security camera footage from the studio lot.
We're actually just doing it in a black box theater for 7 people. That's it. No style at all. Come on.
I know. Everybody has stupid stuff. This is like, I think one of the things is that they get told to say certain things. I've been thinking a lot about the Spider-Man actor who said that your friend Spider-Man is not woke. And the thing is, it's super woke. Like, it's crazy woke.
I have a theory about that.
And I think that, there's an interesting discussion on the Discord, which is that for a certain generation, woke has stopped meaning the same way that for our generation, the F slur and the R slur did not mean that you actually loved men. It was
Yeah.
just like it meant lame and stupid and bad.
Yeah.
And then that's what woke has become too.
Yeah, that is what woke has become, for sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Although my theory is that they're sending people out and saying, like, in your interview, say that our stuff's not woke, because then nobody can claim it's woke. If you came out before it came out and said it's not woke, that's the end of that discussion.
I mean, the show is so woke. It is
Yeah.
actually crazy how woke it is. It's. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not a complaint. I am not
No.
complaining.
No.
But to go on an interview and say, "Well, I'm glad it wasn't woke," I was like, "What are you talking about? There's a fucking subplot about racial profiling."
Spider-Man and his best friend have a crush on the same girl.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Aunt May and Peter Parker, pretty much two of the only white people on the whole show.
And Paul F. Tompkins.
Paul S. Tompkins, and he's a real piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
anyway, Benedict Cumberbatch had to come out and give his own correction and omission that he is in the Avengers Secret Wars.
Doomsday.
He was wrong. Or Doomsday, whichever is the first one. He's in that.
Doomsday is the first one, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was wrong. So
one of the things I like about the Marvel actors is that sometimes they lie and sometimes they honestly do not know.
they have no idea. Yeah.
They're just going to get called up and be like, okay, you got to be here in 6 weeks and like get back into shape. Like that's what happens.
Yeah.
So he probably had.
And to go back like a while back when people were asking Harrison Ford, like, so you're Red Hulk? And he's like, I don't know what Red Hulk is. It's very plausible he had no idea what Red Hulk was. Right? Like,
are we going to talk about the new Captain America TV spot?
I did not see it, no.
Well, if we're talking about Harrison Ford and Red Hulk, I have to say to everybody out there, our long national nightmare is over, because this TV spot shows us Harrison Ford delivering exposition about what adamantium is. And it is the weirdest. Like, it's like so weird to have Harrison Ford say, this is adamantium. It's the strongest metal known to man, even stronger than vibranium. Like, what the fuck? How does Harrison Ford ever even hear the word adamantium? That's crazy. And here he is. You know, it's like totally wild. Like the idea that, like, when I was a kid reading comic books and, they would talk about adamantium. The idea that Harrison Ford would ever say that word out loud was implausible to me.
Sure.
Just implausible. Harrison Ford had a pretty good track record, not even saying the dumb Star Wars things out loud. Like, traditionally, he's not running around saying like species names and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Not, no.
Yeah, Han Solo doesn't have a lot of like weird dialogue.
No.
So
that's one thing I always think about. I thought about a lot when Obama got elected as president. I was like, he's probably the first president to know about Wolverine, because he was a comic book nerd. So he knew these characters. And that's a weird thing. Like, the president's sitting around and somebody says something in the White House and he's like, oh, that's just like what Wolverine did and blah, 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 blah.
Maybe I think there's a chance George W. Bush did.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's the right age to have been... He may be a little bit old, I guess, when Wolverine debuted.
But I just don't think George W. Bush was reading comic books.
Well, the thing is that some of these characters were, like, Wolverine's more popular outside the mainstream, outside the comic book world than some of these other characters. But I was going to say Bill Clinton maybe, but then I realized that Bill Clinton was too busy trying to get fucked. He was definitely not going anywhere near a comic book.
Like it's plausible that Barack Obama could tell you who Wally West is.
Oh,
like that kind of deal, and that's interesting. Although I think he was more of a Marvel guy, but
he's into Star Trek too.
Yes, he's very into Star Trek. Yeah. Like, it's weird. It's kind of weird.
I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is that we had all these presidents who could not name these characters, and now Elon Musk has all these 20-year-olds running the government who probably also could not name these characters because the young generation doesn't keep up with this stuff anymore. So this entire middle-aged group that knows these characters by heart, we're just getting skipped over when it comes to governmental positions.
Good. Good. They know Skibidi Toilet or wherever.
Yeah, exactly. This is guys who watch Skibidi Toilet are right now running the U.S. government.
Guys who 3 years ago were doing the floss dance.
Or
now know if I'm getting Social Security or not. Yeah. Right.
We have to laugh.
Yeah.
We have to laugh. But anyway, so it's a pretty good TV spot, and it makes it clear that all the rumors are true. that Tiamat is in fact made out of adamantium, and that the premise of the movie is who's going to stake a claim on it first. That's sort of the premise. So everybody complaining about them not following up on that, they've made a whole movie about it now.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
We can all move along.
Yeah. Perfect.
But I was gonna see this movie anyway. We have to talk about it at Marvel Vision. I'm sorry, Watchmen, and I also watch all these movies. But like, if I wasn't gonna go, Harrison Ford standing on a stage saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, adamantium," I have to be in I gotta be in IMAX to see that. I gotta be there.
It's the perfect sound. That's wild.
All right, what else we got?
Chris Evans has denied that he's going to be in Avengers Doomsday.
I think he's lying, but who knows?
Yeah. Or maybe he just doesn't know.
Maybe he doesn't know.
Yeah.
No, I think he's lying. I think he's lying because I think he's doing the nice guy thing, which is that he's letting Anthony Mackie have the moment.
Yeah.
So I think that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, also they wouldn't say.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Let's see, the Spider-Man voice actor, we already discussed that. He said the show's not annoying and woke. Lanterns has begun filming.
Very exciting.
So that's good. That's exciting.
I mean, I'm kind of glad that some of this stuff is happening because so much of the DC universe depends on Superman.
Yeah.
And that's not a slam dunk. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not a slam dunk. And I'm glad there's going to be a couple of bullets in the chamber that if Superman doesn't quite perform, at least we're going to get some of this interesting stuff.
We'll have Supergirl, we'll have Lanterns, we'll have season 2 of Peacemaker.
Yeah, like that stuff's really interesting. That's the kind of stuff that you want out of a universe, like the more interesting things. And I'm very hopeful for Superman being a huge hit, and I think it can be. I'm aware that it's not a slam dunk.
I'm interested. I would love to know what is their benchmark for success on Superman. Like, obviously they would love $1 billion, right? Like, obviously. But like, if it makes 700 million, are they like good enough? Or is that not good enough? Who knows? Who knows?
I mean, it's tough because
600, 500, who knows?
I mean, that's not enough. No. I mean, actually, I don't know what the budget is, but it's got to at least be double the budget plus.
Yeah.
So that's just to break even, and they're not making a Superman movie to break even.
No.
So that's part of the deal. They want to make money on it. I think they would like to see it be $1 billion movie.
Of course.
I don't know how many of those we have left anymore.
I don't know.
So that's the other piece of it. I'm not really sure how many of those exist.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of Superman, the Schuster estate is suing Warner Brothers, saying that they can't release the movie in in a bunch of countries.
Good.
In the UK and Australia and Canada are the big ones. Yeah.
Good. Good, because they don't have the exact same agreements in those countries. There's like different agreements and how this stuff works, territory to territory. And when they negotiated their shit, they just negotiated America. No,
they negotiated it worldwide.
Did they negotiate worldwide? So there's Warner Brothers fucking them, even though they have negotiated worldwide.
I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but this whole lawsuit sounds very confusing to me. Where they're like, oh, Warner Brothers has worldwide rights. We have an agreement, but because of different copyright laws for UK, that agreement doesn't work. And so that's where the issue comes in. Because they say that since Schuster died in 92 and in the UK, Ireland, Australia, Canada, copyright ends 25 years after the author's death. That would be 2017. So since 2017, anything you've done, we should have gotten more money for. I imagine Warner Brothers are going to come back and be like, it's not like we haven't released stuff with Superman since 2017, so we don't know why you waited so long.
Right.
And then, I mean, they're just going to settle out of court, obviously.
That's what they're doing. They're trying to make Warner Brothers pony up some money, which is great. Yeah. I think they should. Like, Warner Brothers has not paid these people enough money. They just have not.
No.
It's hard to imagine them ever being even able to pay them enough money.
Yes.
Because these people should have grown up filthy rich.
Yeah.
That's just the deal. They should have. Yeah. And so I'm all for forcing Warner Brothers to pony up some cash.
Yeah. Yeah, I got no problem with it. Give them some money.
What if they call for the public execution of David Zaslav?
That might be a little far.
You think so? I think that's a good idea. I
I
think that would
mean,
really get the public on their side.
maybe, but I think that might be a bit much on this one. I don't know. I don't know.
All right, what else we got?
And then we have the Fantastic Four trailer is either going to or not going to premiere on Tuesday. Depends on who you believe.
I think it will be on Tuesday.
You think so?
Yeah, I do think so. Yeah.
Because they're showing Marvel is doing trailers during the Super Bowl, which is
They'll do
like
both
4 days later.
They'll do both, and it won't be like a huge big thing. It's going to be because Tuesday is February 4th, and I think that the tie-in to the 4 is going to be good for them. And I suspect that they're
especially February 4th is F4.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, F4. But also, this does not come from. This comes from like an actual press release.
Yes, that then got pulled back.
Yeah. Now they might have taken it back. I don't know. They might have like said, no, we're not going to do it because we're going to do the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But I bet they do both. Because the thing is, Good Morning America is hitting a different audience than the Super Bowl, potentially.
I think, here's my theory, because Marvel is doing 2 trailers during the Super Bowl.
They're doing Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four.
See, I was thinking Thunderbolts and Captain America. Because Captain America opens up like that Friday, like the week after, right?
That could be the case. Yeah, that would be a good place.
This week, right?
No, it opens the 14th. It opens the 14th.
Yeah.
That would be a good idea. I mean, that would be a smart idea for them because that's that week.
Yeah.
Could be. That could be. We always get very used to them advertising movies that are far out, but that actually does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. I mean, but I do believe that this is, again, because it came from an ABC News press release, I know that it's at least was real. Like it was never, this is not a rumor. This is a thing.
This is something. Yeah. So. I mean,
So,
they might also be showing like a 30-second teaser of the trailer. And
that's also possible.
On Sunday.
Super Bowl Sunday, we're going to have the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also very possible.
I used to have this idea. I still have this idea. And I think it would be great. The Super Bowl halftime show, make a deal with Marvel. Do like a thing where like, oh, here comes whoever, Lady Gaga, she's singing. Oh no, AIM has come in and taken the whole Super Bowl hostage. And now here come the Avengers to save the day. And like have a big event in the middle of the Super Bowl with that stuff. That'd be fun.
You would be laughed off the internet with that.
I don't think so.
I know so.
I don't think so.
I 100% guarantee it.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I do not believe that the public would take to that very well at all.
I think they would.
I think they would think it was cringy. That would be the word that would be used. Marvel's cringe Super Bowl stunt. Unless they had Chris Evans as Captain America. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you'd have the actors playing, like doing it and showing up and doing the stuff. Not like random people in the suits.
I guess. I don't know. I feel part of the problem is that I just keep seeing the Spider-Man wedding at Shea Stadium in my head, and that is a low point.
See, I always think of the Marvel Macy's Days Parade thing, but with like an actual budget is what I see. Like,
that's also a low point, though. It's like embarrassing. It's like what's fun about that is that it's so bad. Like that's the beauty of that thing.
Yeah,
is that it's dopey.
I think it'd be fun.
I don't disagree. I think you and I would like it. I just think that it would create a lot of mocking buzz.
Yeah,
what I think, and I don't know that's what they want to go for.
Yep. And also something I didn't have in the news.
What's that?
Kind of connects is the Superman will not be part of the Super Bowl, but he will be part of the Puppy Bowl. As James Gunn and his dog will be premiering a scene during the Puppy Bowl.
That's great. I love that. That's especially because a lot of this shit doesn't really matter where the fuck it's playing. It's going to be on the internet.
Yes.
It's really fun. It's really fun.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good time. And I think that's going for a different audience. I think it's very smart.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. That's also why GMA makes sense too, again, because it's going to be a more female audience.
Sure.
And showing this first family thing, that's going to appeal in a different way. This is a different kind of Marvel movie. This isn't the same thing that your kids dragged you to for the last 10 years. This is different. Yeah. I have
news. They tried a giant purple guy, not a giant purple laser. Totally different.
I have news.
Oh, yeah?
The cinematographer of Shogun is going to be the cinematographer for Vision Quest.
Oh, very nice.
Now, have you watched Shogun?
I have.
That's one of the most beautiful TV shows I have ever seen.
Yeah, it's a great looking show.
They used a very specific lens for that. Like it's a really like I watched a whole thing about it. But like what a amazing choice that makes that way. And I have to imagine that that's part of why he was chosen. But it's a
For sure.
gorgeous. It's
for sure.
And they shot it in Vancouver, and it looks fucking astonishing.
No, they
Every
didn't.
single frame of that show.
They did not.
Yes, they did.
I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that at all.
They 100% shot that show in
I'm
Vancouver.
looking that up. I do not believe that
Do it.
at all.
Look it up right now. They shot it in Vancouver.
I cannot accept that.
I know. It's crazy, right? You're like, oh, this obviously was shot in Japan or some other interesting place. No, it's fucking Vancouver where everything's shot.
No.
Yeah, no. Are you looking it up?
I am.
Make sure you're not looking at the original ABC show.
No, I'm looking at the new one.
What do you got there?
I'm looking. Filming locations.
Yeah.
It says Japan.
I'm sure they shot something.
I mean, most of it, London, Japan, but most of it is indeed Canada. A lot of places in Canada. That is crazy. I cannot believe that at all.
Yeah, most of it is shot there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
that is bonkers.
Yeah,
I honestly thought they shot in Japan. I really did.
I mean, so that really is there's a lot of people that should get props for that, but cinematographer is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
So I am a very big fan of Shogun, and I'm very hopeful that means Vision Quest is going to look pretty cool.
I mean, you got what's his face that did Picard season 3, right? He's running it.
Mm-hmm.
You got Shogun there.
Mm-hmm.
It's good stuff.
No, it's all good stuff. It's all, everything really feels positive about Vision Quest.
Yeah.
So I'm incredibly hopeful for that.
Yeah.
There's two other pieces of news. One is about Geraldine Viswanathan.
Yeah.
Who's in Thunderbolts. Have you seen this?
No, the movie hasn't come out yet.
She is the woman that took Io Edeberry's...
Have you seen this, Paul? Have you heard about this one?
Have you seen this one, folks? It's in the news this week. She took Io Edeberry's spot in that movie when the stuff did. So she was doing a video interview, and she was asked, in Thunderbolts, do you consider yourself much of a songbird? And she says, I have no idea what you're talking about. Never in my life have I heard something like that. Oh, look now what you've done. Now I'm all nervous. So she's clearly playing Songbird in that movie. So that's...
What? She can't be.
Why not?
Because what's her name is Songbird, isn't she? In
Hawkeye's wife. You thinking of Mockingbird?
Oh, I'm thinking of Mockingbird.
Yeah. No. She's Songbird, who actually has powers.
Okay.
So that's the big difference, is that she has like a scream power.
Yeah.
Her original
Black Canary.
Yeah, she's Black Canary. I mean, she is straight up Black Canary. She originally, however, her original name, she has the most amazing original name.
What?
Screaming Mimi.
Okay, that's a good name. I'm pretty sure Songbird is the name of the Black Canary knockoff for Squadron Supreme.
It could be. They own the rights to the name, so why not? Yeah. They might have gone the other way around. They might have taken Screaming Mimi and made her Songbird because they had that. So I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know, but she's a Mark Grunwald character. And John Byrne. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And then she was a member of the Thunderbolts, the original Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely not the Squadron Supreme one. I can't. Maybe her name was. I don't remember what her name is, but there is a Black Canary knockoff.
No, there's a knockoff of every JLA character in that.
Yeah, or most of them. Yeah.
So I think that's pretty interesting because we had not been known that she was. When we knew that, I was always so curious. Like, why is Io going to do this movie? Like, it seems so weird to me. But if she's going to play a superhero or a supervillain turned superhero, that's pretty cool. That's actually like really cool. That's like character who'll show up in other things, and that will be not that usual Marvel thing where they hire somebody really cool and then they have 2 scenes and that's it. And you're like, what the fuck? Why did you burn this guy on this? Like, this is a good.
Who knows?
So
you never know.
But that's the other piece of big news is that Sony has axed their next untitled Marvel film, which was supposed to come out in June 27th of this year. So I do suspect that nobody believed it was coming out, but they've made it official.
Film something in a week.
It's so funny. I mean, they were like,
Do
somebody
you like that Corman Fantastic Four? Just get it out. We gotta keep this
keep the
right
rights. We
license.
got to keep the rights. Yeah, that is definitely the vibe of that. But yeah, no, they've made it official that they're not going to be uh, releasing anything. So
Oh well.
yeah,
Well, that'll happen.
that will happen.
That'll happen.
All right, we got any mail?
We do.
What we got?
I don't know. Let's find out.
The mail guy.
Forgot to get it again.
Oh wow, incredible.
Well, I've been busy.
Yeah, okay.
I actually, honestly, on Friday, I was drinking tea and it went down the wrong pipe and I coughed. And ever since then, half of my head has been in a great deal of pain and like my neck. I pulled a muscle in my neck coughing.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah, it hurts.
So you're in pain right now?
Oh, yeah.
You're not taking medicine, right? That's like your
I
deal.
mean, I took some aspirin, but
You got to take Advil for muscle pain, man.
I took Excedrin migraine relief.
Yeah, but you don't have a migraine.
Well, that's all I have on me, though.
All right. Well, I hope you feel better soon.
Yeah, we'll see.
My
My
big
big
fear
fear is what if I popped something in my brain and I'm slowly bleeding? But I think by now.
How would you ever
I'd
figure that
know.
out? How would you ever know?
Exactly. Well, I figure I'd probably be dead by now if that was the case, right?
That probably would, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel pretty safe on that. Okay, this is from Samich. He says, "This is for me." He asked how the Daredevil rewatch is going. Painfully is how it's going.
What season are you up to?
I'm into season 2.
Yeah.
I watched the first episode of season 2. It's a bad show. It's just a bad show. It's not good. There's a lot of things in it that I'm just not a fan of.
Do you second screen while you're watching it?
Sometimes I fell behind, so I watched a bunch of episodes this weekend. But I also watch it when I'm on my bike, on my exercise bike, so then I'm just watching the show. But
I mean, those shows are built. This is not even a joke. They're built to be second screened. Like that's.
Oh yeah, I mean, every scene is just telling you what happened in the scene before.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. So, and plus, you're not really watching it for any other purpose than getting a little bit of grounding for the new season. So I think you can happily second screen the whole time.
Yeah,
just get those Candy Crush numbers up.
One of my biggest problems with the show is no matter who Daredevil fights, he gets his ass kicked. And so it's like I get the idea that you want to make it like, oh, these are tough, rough and tumble fights.
Right.
But he fights like a random mugger, gets the shit beat out of him before he's finally able to take that guy down. And then he fights Kingpin and the same kind of thing happens. And it's like, well, is he just bad at this? Is that the idea? That he's just not good at any of this?
That would be incredible if the whole reason that the new season is more grounded is that Daredevil just gets stabbed by a 15-year-old in the first scene and dies.
He just dies. Yeah. Yeah. Right. This is from Jason King. Let's see, what is this question? Is it fair to say that video game adaptations are where comic adaptations were through the 90s and early 2000s, underwhelming to the fan base and box office, losers with the odd exception? Can you see a world where Hollywood figures out how to successfully adapt games and they become the next big thing? Yes, I do. I believe, I think there's a couple of games that you can make into a movie, a very successful movie or franchise. Castlevania could work, I think, very easily.
Well, that's like a big cartoon show.
Yeah, they made a big cartoon out of that. Legend of Zelda could be a successful franchise, movie franchise. I think the problem is that they keep making ones that don't have anything behind them that much. I mean, obviously the new Super Mario Brothers, I made $1 billion, right? That was big. But like Mortal Kombat, there's just not much to Mortal Kombat is the thing.
I mean, the thing is that that's the third Mortal Kombat movie. So
it's not even the third; it's like the fifth. Like they've made a bunch of those because they made the one in the '90s that was successful.
Yeah,
and then they made sequels to that, right?
Well,
And
they made Mortal
then
Kombat 2 that was in theaters. Were there more that were direct to video?
yeah, I think so.
Huh.
And then there was like a Mortal Kombat TV show too, I think, right? And then they've
I'm
done the
gonna
same thing with like Street Fighter, and it's like there's just like there's
I'm
not
gonna
much to
say
these.
I liked the new Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It
Yeah.
was not good, but I liked it. Somebody tweeted there's only 4 different movie ratings. Those ratings are it was good and I liked it was good and I didn't like it was bad and I didn't like it, and it was bad and I liked it. Those are the only 4 movie ratings that you actually need. And the new Mortal Kombat probably is it's bad, but I liked it
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. I
So
can see that. But
I enjoyed it.
There are definitely, I think you can make good video game movies, but just like with comic book movies, you have to understand what you should keep and what you shouldn't keep.
So I'm going to have the opposite view.
Yeah.
I don't think you can.
No?
And the reason why I don't think you can is because the best video games that are narrative based tend to be essentially ripping off movies, or so heavily influenced by movies that they already are kind of remakes in their own weird fashion, their own adaptations in their own weird fashion, and then you're going to take that back and readapt that. The other thing is that what makes a really good video game, especially a narrative video game, is the depth and texture of the world that you're in, and that is impossible to do in a movie. Like, so BioShock has a story that you could tell, right?
Yeah.
But there's no way that you could do BioShock justice because it's the texture of that world that you are exploring. And you're not going to have as many scenes of guys listening to tape recordings in a movie as you get in that game.
That's true.
And so
Yeah.
I just feel like it's not going to 100% work.
Well, I think games with less focus on story are where you can do it. Like Castlevania seems like, hey, I gotta go kill Dracula. Okay, there's your movie. Like, here's this guy, Belmont,
I mean,
and his family's out there killing Draculas.
You can definitely do movies that are the game basically in name only.
Yeah,
where just the name and the log.
You take elements of it, of the mythos, but like you definitely games that are very narrative heavy. I think it gets tougher. Although, I mean, Last of Us, that's a very popular show. They did a good job with that.
I really don't like that show.
I'm fine with it. I think it's okay.
I didn't finish the first season.
No?
I think there's and I think that's actually a really good example of what I was talking about, which is The Last of Us is a riff on zombie movies, which we've seen 100 times, and now it's a zombie story, which we've also seen 100 times. So I just feel like by the time it's come through, it feels like a tape of a cassette of a cassette of a cassette to me, where I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. Like, I've seen this story 1,000. Let me guess, the real monsters are us, and.
But I mean, do you also sit there and be like, oh, another crime movie? I've seen a crime movie before. No, it's about the characters and their interactions.
I think the problem with the zombie stuff is that it's so specific and it was created in 1969 that that it's like a little bit different than the concept of crime. It's different. George Romero invented that. That did not exist before him. And everyone that has come since is just riffing on his thing, and nobody has actually done significant expansion on it. The big expansion is they're fast, or they're mushrooms. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think that because he was created this genre to tell a certain kind of social story, that there's nothing else to do with that genre except be gross or tell that exact same social story. Oh, I would love to see somebody tell a different story. Do you know what I mean? Like a totally different, and that happens every now and again. Somebody will there was a movie a few years ago about a world after the zombie apocalypse where zombies had been tamed and they were just like housemaids and shit like that. That's good. That's interesting, but it's still going to end the same way. It's still going to end with the zombies eating a bunch of people.
Sure.
That's how it's got to go. Like, you're going to walk out unhappy.
Well, the headline here is Devin to Edgar Wright, fuck your zombie movie, apparently. So
that's the thing, is that I think that Shaun of the Dead is one of the top zombie movies, but I think Edgar would be the first one to tell you that he is working in the shadow of George Romero.
Yes.
I mean, the fucking name of the movie.
Yes. No, I mean, they're not hiding it at all.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I mean, and it was early enough in that cycle that it did not feel fundamentally. But after Walking Dead, it just feels like it's just milked just
Yeah.
fully milked.
Remember when 28 Days Later was coming out and they're like, they're not zombies, they're rage. It's a rage virus. And it's like, come on, guys. Come on.
I love that they make fun of that in Shaun of the Dead.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That was good. Here's a question from Jordan Barnes. Wants to know, what is your favorite MCU movie from each phase? I would say phase 1. I don't know where phase 1 ends.
The Avengers.
Right? Yeah. I guess Iron Man is the best of phase 1, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Phase 2 goes from Iron Man 3 to what? I don't know. I don't know what the phases are.
Well, let's look it up. Let's do middle-aged men Googling, and we can find out what the phases are, because it is highly delineated. Let's see what we find here on the Wikipedia. The funny thing is, I can't remember. Like, I've seen every single one of these. What was that?
Whackapadiah. It's from Community. Where Chevy Chase says, I read something today on the Whackapadiah.
Phase 2 is Iron Man 3, Thor: The Dark World, Captain America: Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers: Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man.
Winter Soldier for me on that one.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, I didn't give my phase 1 even.
Yeah.
So I'll do all of mine when I'm ready.
Oh, okay.
The films for phase 3 are Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, Spider-Man: Homecoming, Thor: Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, Avengers: Endgame, and Far From Home. Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Wow. It's a lot in that one, huh?
Yeah, it's a big phase. Yeah.
I think Guardians 2.
Yeah.
I'm one of the rare people that really loves Guardians 2.
That seems reasonable to me.
Yeah. A lot of people are like, it's okay, but I think it's fantastic. I think it's a really great movie.
Phase 4, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man: No Way Home, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Thor: Love and Thunder, and Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
I'm going to go with Eternals.
Okay.
On that one.
All right. And phase 5, what we have here is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Guardians 3, The Marvels, Deadpool and Wolverine, Captain America: Brave New World, and Thunderbolts.
Guardians 3. Without doubt on that one. Yeah.
All right. For me, phase 1, it's got to be Captain America: The First Avenger. Love that movie. Just love it to pieces. Avengers itself is very tempting to say, because it is, except for the fact that the first 20 minutes of that movie are awful.
I've often, maybe not often, but I've said in the past that Man of Steel and Avengers are exact opposites in my viewing. Where like Man of Steel started, I was like, this is amazing. Like all the Krypton stuff, I'm like, this is amazing. And then it goes bad. And then Avengers is like, what is going on? And then it turns good. So, yeah.
I mean, I told this story on the show before, but I was at the premiere of the Avengers, and sitting in that theater for the first 15 minutes of that movie was
Loki
among the most uncomfortable fucking things that I've ever experienced.
Yeah. Loki riding on the back of the Jeep is something I always think of. I'm like, that's just terrible. It's just terrible.
But it's like crazy because you watch it like, oh, they fucking dropped the ball fully. This is like a Fox TV show. This is crazy how bad this is.
Yeah.
But then the movie recovers and it's fucking amazing after that. So it's a delight from top to bottom.
Yeah.
So phase 2, it's going to have to be Winter Soldier. I think there's like some real contenders in that.
Yeah.
But it's going to have to be Winter Soldier.
And Winter Soldier's so good.
Phase 3. I don't know. It's either going to be Homecoming or Civil War.
I almost said Homecoming.
And I mean, like, other ones are like in play. You know what I mean? Like, other ones are like in play for that one. It's hard. Like, I think Doctor Strange is slept on as a Marvel movie. I think it's good.
I think Doctor Strange has one of the best endings of a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
I love that ending that he is essentially doing like I don't know the right phrasing for it, but he's just like non-resistant fighting at the end,
Yeah.
right? It's such an interesting concept,
Yeah.
and to see that in play was very interesting to me. But yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Phase 4. This is where we start getting interesting. Which is that, I mean, for me, I would love to say Eternals. But except for the fact that I don't like the final fight in Spider-Man No Way Home, that's an almost perfect movie.
Yeah,
But I might go with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness because
okay,
it just has the most. The Eternals I really like a lot. Like
yes.
I really like it.
I mean, we're both on record as pro
Huge
Eternals.
Eternals guys.
Yeah,
It's just like in terms of like how often am I going to sit through all of Eternals? It's not that often. It's
yeah.
a little on the long
It-
side, a
it-
little on the ponderous side.
to me, Eternals has the same problem as Avengers, where the first like 20 minutes, I'm like,
Oh yeah, it's not that great, and
like
then it
that
takes some.
fight in the middle of the street in
Yeah,
the beginning is like, and then when it really gets going, it's like, oh, this is really
yeah, it
good.
warms up. Yeah,
Yeah,
but Doctor Strange maybe takes it because honestly, the fucking Zombie Strange is just like one of the greatest things I saw on film in 2020 too.
yeah.
I mean, that's just like a top movie moment. Like that's just
I
like
mean,
unreal.
Multiverse of Madness definitively has my favorite line from any Marvel movie, which is,
Yeah,
"You're gonna have to do more than kill me to kill me."
yeah, it's so
It's
good.
great, right?
For Phase
It's gonna
5,
take more than killing me to kill me. It's like, what?
my take on this is going to be the Marvels.
Yeah.
Which I think is well, first of all, I think Phase 5 movies are a mixed lot, to say the least. Uh,
The Marvels is the most shocking answer possible.
I really like the Marvels. I've watched it twice. I like it a lot, actually,
I
and
do not like it at all.
I really like it. I have like a nice time watching it, and I think I'm really willing to I'm willing to give it the participation trophy because I know that it is not the movie it's supposed to be. Like I know that, like the movie got fucked up. Like this
Yeah.
is not because nobody knew what they were doing. It's because it got fucked up. And so within that context, I like
But
it.
this is my problem. You say it's not that nobody knew what they were doing, but it got fucked up. How did it get fucked up if they knew what they were doing?
My guess on this is that it's very possible that so I don't know the story. Like, and this is a
Because
story
I have a theory.
this is a story that's going to take a little while to come out.
Yeah.
But I think that there was a version of this movie that also didn't work, that was longer, and eventually there was like they cut it behind the director's back. I mean, like,
Yeah.
so like I think that they went in and they just fucking got it down to the shortest possible runtime because they did not have faith in the movie at all.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. And I think that there were other, there was like the Ant-Man thing, I think, and Eternals, I think, really made them very nervous.
Sure.
Very nervous. And there had been like a real Captain Marvel backlash on the internet. And they were probably nervous about that too.
Yeah.
And the stuff that they felt really good about, like, oh, we're going to introduce Ms. Marvel and then bring her into the movies, I think they were like, oh, that actually didn't work out the way we wanted it to.
Yeah.
And so it became a whole thing where in-house, I feel like they kind of like fucked with it because they got spooked.
Sure.
And it may not have been that good at the long version either. But I think it would have been a not that good movie that's like, honestly, just like a movie they, put their heart into, and it just didn't quite work.
Yeah.
But like I like it. I enjoy it. Part of it is I just like Ms. Marvel.
Sure.
Part of it, I think that whole thing with the cats, I think is great. I just think
the
it's
cat's
so
bit
good.
is very good. The cat's bit is very good.
I just think it's very fast. My biggest problem with the movie is that it's too fast, and like they don't spend enough time on the singing planet and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff they're obviously afraid of.
Yeah.
Because apparently, I think in either the original cut or the original script, there was much more on that singing planet.
Yeah, there's more. They said there's more there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's why. So the thing is that like I really like Quantumania. I go against the grain on this one.
I also really like Quantumania.
As we've discussed on this show, have we discussed on this show that at the end of Quantumania, when Ant-Man says, well, that's the last of Kang, we're never going to see that guy again, where it's supposed to be ominous, now it's just true, which is very funny.
I mean, yeah, but we've discussed this. Loki season 2 ties up Kang perfectly with one line. They're done. It's great.
I agree. I 100% agree. But it's just funny because, like, in the context of Quantumania, it's supposed to be like dun dun dun. But actually, now it's like, he is done. Like I said, he's finished. I have a complicated relationship with Guardians 3, and I have not been able to rewatch it. I watched it one time, and I watched it in a hospital room. So I feel very it's very difficult for me to say
Yeah.
about that. You know what I mean? Like it's very challenging for me to know to pull apart what are emotions related to this or related to that, and sort of like what actually is the deal.
Yeah.
And also like how much of it is like I watched it on a hospital TV where the sound comes out of the clicker that you're holding in your hand.
Yeah.
Like it
I
wasn't even
mean,
like a good system.
when I saw Guardians 3, I love it. I love Guardians 3. But there was no doubt in my mind watching that movie. I was like, I don't know how Devin's going to watch this movie. like no, just because of what the story
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Is so much of what you were dealing with at that moment.
Yeah. No,
I was
it's
like,
not.
I just don't like. There's no like. I don't know how you return. Like, I don't know.
It was challenging.
Yeah.
It was really, really challenging. And, part of it was really helped by the fact that Marvel came to the hospital room and brought the movie. That was really amazing. That was
Yeah.
like, and they brought us jackets and hats and all kinds of stuff. You have one of the hats.
I do.
Yeah.
And one of the jackets. Yeah.
That's like great. Like I'm like all pro that. So I have a very positive, but it's very hard for me to actually talk about that movie as a movie.
Yes.
Right now.
Yeah.
That one, and I had not been able to rewatch Wakanda Forever.
Okay. I thought you were going to say Thor: Love and Thunder, and that's just because it's a terrible movie.
Well, that also though I can never rewatch
because it's terrible.
Besides terrible, Jane Foster dies of cancer.
Yes,
and we had Brittany on The Watchmen to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And right as she points out, it's done terribly in that.
Yeah, it's done very badly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I think if it was like a meaningful like cancer story that maybe I could like cry and like heal through.
Sure.
But like it's not. It's garbage.
No.
And so I don't want to go back to it.
Yeah.
But because Wakanda Forever is all about grief, like it's such a heavy grief movie.
Such a heavy movie. Yeah.
I think it might not be very good. Like, and again, that's not, I don't hold it against the movie.
That is a movie where I will not hold it against the movie. Like,
yeah.
I don't know how they made that movie. Like, I just can't imagine that situation. And I think overall they did a very good job. It's not a great movie. It's not as good as the first one, but I just don't know how you go into making that movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a Watchmen that we did about it. I'm sure if you go back and listen, there's a lot of problems with the movie, but there's a lot of stuff I liked about the movie.
Yeah.
But now, where I am in my life right now, I just cannot watch a movie like that about grief, like that heavily about, like that actively about a person who is actually dead.
Yeah.
It's different when a character's dead and they're grieving.
Sure.
Like it's funny how Breaking Bad I had no problem with the cancer stuff in Breaking Bad.
Okay.
Not at all. Like not the slightest problem. It's very minor actually in Breaking Bad.
Well, it's because he sucks.
Well, that's also part of it. He sucks. Walter White deserves it. Yeah. So I'm gonna go with the Marvels with the asterisk that it's probably actually is going to end up being Guardians of the Galaxy 3 someday.
Yeah.
But not today is not that day. So and who knows? Maybe Thunderbolts or Captain America can be fucking amazing.
Maybe.
You never know.
I'm honestly hopeful for Captain America.
I am too.
Thunderbolts less so, just because I just don't understand why they just have a team of people with guns. I think that's goofy, but we'll see. We'll see what they do.
Well, I've heard some spoilery stuff that I'm not going to talk about here on the show, but I can talk to you about off mic about like why that is.
Okay.
I think it's stuff we've already talked about, but I don't want to talk about it on the mic. So
yeah.
Because as we get closer to the movie being released, the more convinced I am that some of this stuff is actually real as opposed to just rumor. So
okay.
Well, all right, that's our questions. If you have questions, where can they send them to?
We gotta do one more.
I thought we just did 3.
I thought we only did 2. Didn't we?
We did Derek. Where are you on Daredevil?
Yeah.
And what was the second one?
The second one was the phases.
Oh my God, we're going very long on these. Okay, one more.
Yeah. This is from Chris Letzo. He says, "Will 2025 be the year that you finally record a commentary episode on Assassin 33 AD, aka Black Easter?"
I mean, Not impossible.
Not impossible.
I will say, the thing is that it's one of those things where it actually helps that you just brought it up, because I don't think about it until like we're close to the actual Easter. And then once it's Easter, I go, this is too late to do this now. It's not going to be fun to do it now. So perhaps we will have a special 8033 Black Easter episode of some kind.
It's an amazing movie.
An incredible movie. Very excited to talk about it. I haven't watched it in 2 years, so I'm excited.
Neither have I. But I think about it every now and again. I do think about it.
How do you not think about it every now and again?
Yeah.
I mean, the apostles get machine gunned to death. It's fucking incredible.
Like, just the opening, the guy just pointing a gun point blank at Jesus' head in the opening. I'm like, what is going on? So this is crazy. This is a great concept for a story. And then it's just like, this is just anti-Semitic and
Islamophobic,
and it's weird and uncomfortable.
It's actually maybe a work of evil potentially, but it's highly entertaining. So
we got to do it before the Red Letter Media guys find it, because sooner or later they'll discuss it.
Yeah, you're right. Them or they would never do it. How did this get made on that? Right, that's too small for them.
I mean, they did a movie called Governor Gabby, and they were so like, that is one of those episodes that like I listened to it. I was like, you guys are being so mean. This is clearly a movie that like somebody made with their own money, and they're nobody. And here are three very well positioned actors, comedians ripping apart this woman's movie. And that made me feel kind of bad, that one. They usually try to stay away from those kinds of things, though, where it's like that low down. But something like this, or like they did The Room, they've done Birdemic, like the bigger ones. But Governor Gabby was definitely one where I was like, I think you guys are punching down on this one.
I would love them to do it, because I would like to get more eyeballs on Black Easter, because Black Easter ends with a setup for a sequel.
Yes.
That was also, by the way, a fucking incredible
great concept
for a sequel.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that we might get that. So all right. Maybe
if we cover it, then they'll cover it.
I don't think that's how that's going to work, but okay.
Who knows?
They'll never know it exists. All right, we ready to talk about the first two episodes of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man?
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and do it. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man episodes 1 and 2, Amazing Fantasy and The Parker Luck. And the question of whether or not this show is canon is settled fairly early in this first episode. It's Peter Parker's first day at Midtown Science High, and he is late for getting up. He's reading Amazing Fantasy comics in his bed.
He is.
And Aunt May gets him out of bed, and he goes to catch the train, but he misses the train, and he thinks he's going to miss his first day of school. And Aunt May realizes he was running late, so she pulled up next to him in the car and drives him to school. And
first they do a good little bit where like he goes to open up his book bag, and you're like, oh, he's going to pull out the costume,
right? And then it's a sandwich,
it's just his lunch. Yeah, I like that.
When they get to the school, there's like a really sweet bit. They talk about the fact that Uncle Ben's already dead.
Yes.
Which is, so we're already like, but the thing is, like, you don't know, is this still the MCU? Because we don't know what happened to Uncle Ben in the MCU. It's not clear.
No.
So here he's already dead. I am very curious. Why do you think they did that?
I think it's just the easiest way to go about it. We all know the Spider-Man story, so we don't need to connect that to it.
And I think tonally, it might be out of place.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that to have this first episode have a huge tragedy.
Yeah, because then you got to spend a lot of time on that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you can't just do that. It just does like a months later jump.
Yeah.
And that feels weird if he just watched his uncle die because of him.
Yeah.
That feels bad. So I actually do understand.
I mean, they do that in the Raimi movie, but we also then still have like an hour. Right. Of a movie to go, or however long. So like with this, like, do you want to spend the whole, like, the first episode ends with Uncle Ben dying, and then the second episode picks up, and now he's going to go be Spider-Man. Like, it's too much stuff,
No. They get to school, they're saying goodbye, and a giant portal opens up over the school, and a symbiote comes out.
Yeah.
Followed by Doctor Strange, who is fighting it.
Yeah.
And he says he sees where they are, and he says we're not supposed to be here.
Yes.
Now, does he literally mean not at this school, or does he mean in this universe?
I believe in this universe.
That's what I think too.
Yeah.
That's what I think as well.
Yeah.
The thing is that people are like, oh, there's no Doctor Strange in this universe because Peter doesn't know who Doctor Strange is. But actually, if you look at the MCU timeline, Doctor Strange is getting his training right now.
Sure.
So nobody knows who Doctor Strange is. That's actually fair. Just even if there is a Doctor Strange here.
Well, I mean, Peter doesn't know who Doctor Strange is when he meets him in Infinity War.
Exactly right. So yeah, he's not a name.
Doctor Strange isn't out there.
No. So they had this big battle, and they fucking destroy Midtown Science High. And I was watching it, and I was like, wow.
Can I give my theory about the symbiote?
Yeah.
I think the symbiote was Kraven the Hunter.
It did have a Kraven the Hunter ruffle.
Yeah. That's
my
theory.
That's obviously
the world that was taken over by symbiotes.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, that is obviously setting something up. That's not just a rando thing. They're setting something up for later. They fucking wreck the school, and Peter Parker. This is a kind of a little bit of a different Peter Parker than from the comics and even from the Raimi movies, but kind of closer to the MCU Peter Parker in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Which is that he doesn't have.
It's almost like this was supposed to be the MCU Peter Parker.
That's correct. He doesn't have to learn with great power comes great responsibility. He's a hero already. He tries to save Nico from the symbiote. It's just his instinct. Like he just does it. And he gets Doctor Strange says, "Nice save, kid," which I thought was really, really sweet. And then while this is happening, a spider comes out of the portal and it lands on Peter's neck and it bites him. Yeah. And he passes out. The spider crawls away and gets on somebody else's backpack.
Somebody else's bag, and that bag gets picked up and the person walks away. Who could it be?
It's got to be Silk, right?
I guess.
Who sure. In canon, they retconned it so that she got bit by the same spider on the same day that Peter did.
How did they fit that into canon?
It is so bad. So she gets bit by the same spider that Peter did that same day. And then she gets kidnapped by somebody. I forget who. Is it Moreland? And then he locked her in a room for 10 years.
No. The very beginning. How did she get bit by the same spider? Because in the comic, for decades, we see the little spider come down, land on Peter's hand, bite him. He goes, spider is dead.
I'm not sure if the spider is always dead. I'm not sure. And
I'm pretty sure the spider's always dead.
I'm not sure if she bit him, if it bit her first.
So he came down, landed on his hand, jumped off between panels, bit her, jumped back on.
It had already bit her when it comes down to his hand.
But we see...
But they retcon that too. We no longer do the thing where it comes between two atomic poles. Like that's just not what's happening with the spider anymore. It's the Marvel thing. They just kind of roll with it, like it's like, all right, yeah. I mean, I like the poles too. Don't get me wrong, but I think that's not what they're doing. So we've already met Nico Minoru, who is going to become Peter's best friend. She's a character from the Runaways.
Yes.
This show is going to be full of characters who are Marvel characters who are not Spider-Man characters.
Yes.
And I kind of think that's cool.
This is what I realized. And I imagine this was not their original plan. But once they decided that the show was not going to be connected to MCU continuity, that they were like, okay, the school gets destroyed. Peter goes to a different school because of that. And now he has totally different friends than he would have had.
Yeah, well, I think that's for the layman, the fact that Peter goes to a different school is a pretty easy way to say this is a different universe. Yeah, like it's a very simple way to do
it. But even like down to the girl that he has a crush on, what's her name? Lena or something?
No, her name is she's Wave from the comics. I can't remember what her Penelope or something like that. I can't remember her name.
I don't know. But she's clearly supposed to be what's her face from Homecoming. Like, no, she looks just like her.
Sort of.
She looks almost exactly like her. Like, I'm positive that originally they were like, yeah, because this is going to be MCU and these are going to be the characters. So it was her. And then they were like, oh, it's not. Okay, we're going to change that. Which is fine. I like the idea like, hey, the school got destroyed. He goes to a different school, totally different friends. This is where the break happens, so to speak.
The break already happened, actually, between universes.
Did it?
Yeah, because there's an Osborn family.
Yes, yes,
There's no
yeah,
Osborns in the MCU.
yeah.
So that
Like in terms of the show, telling you like,
in terms
hey,
of the
here
show
you go.
letting you
Yeah,
know, yeah, this is not your older brother's Spider-Man movies that are currently being made by the Marvel
yeah.
Universe.
In this one, Uncle Ben may have been driving ambulances. Who knows?
Then we cut a couple of months later after the bite, and we redo that scene where he's late for school and misses the train. Except this time, he opens the bag and he does have the costume. He has his early
Yes,
costume, the one that we saw on YouTube in Civil War,
yes.
and he swings his way to school. He now goes to Rockford T. Bales, and I don't know what that means.
Not a clue.
There's no real person named that, and I can't find a character. And I'm wondering if it's just like somebody's dad and mom name. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I'm just trying to figure out like how that name came up.
I don't know. That's a good question.
He is swinging around, and in traditional Spider-Man fashion, he sees a mugging happening, and it is in fact Harry Osborn getting mugged by a bunch of YouTube crazy jerk-offs.
Yeah, they're live streaming it.
They are live streaming it, which, by the way, does sound like a thing that would not happen, except that people live stream murders.
Yeah.
This happens. Like, people do this all the time.
Yeah.
It's like actually crazy. It's crazy that the cartoon is not more cartoonish than real life when it comes to that.
This was the thing when Scream 4 came out, and I said Scream 4 should have been Ghostface is going around live streaming everything, and the people I said that to were like, "That's crazy. Nobody would ever do that. Nobody would buy that as a movie." It's like, well, now it happens.
It happens all the time now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. I have seen so many videos of people committing crimes that they are filming themselves, and I'm like, what
It's
the
crazy.
fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
It's like I'm like, wow, this is a felony. You're committing a violent felony on camera with your face and your name on the TikTok, and you're like laughing about it. Like, boy.
There are definitely things I watch on, like, I've seen videos of where I'm like, I'm not as dumb as I think I am.
No.
Like, clearly, there's far dumber people than me out there.
Do you know what's hilarious?
Okay.
The first episode of Better Call Saul, this is the first case we see. And it's comedically stupid. The kids that break into the morgue and fuck the dead bodies on film.
That's right.
And it is presented as like comedically beyond all belief. Yeah. And now people, they don't do the corpse thing necessarily, but they are filming themselves committing felonies every single day, live streaming it.
Yeah.
Anyway, he fights these kids and he beats them up.
Kills one of them.
Well, it's in the trailer where he gets the kid with the rock, with the brick, and we were like, boy, he killed that kid. And in the show, everybody has essentially that reaction too, which I quite liked. Even Spider-Man goes, ooh. I like that. I like that a lot. So he saves Harry, and Harry's very happy. This Harry is they've race swapped Harry and Norman Osborn. And this Harry has a lot of drip. He's like got like a lot of jewelry and stuff. Like, he definitely is a target. Like, he's 100% a target.
Yeah.
So that's where they meet for the first time. Then we go to school and we have Peter talking to Nico, and they're talking about Pearl, who we were mentioning before. And that's his old babysitter that he has a crush on. He runs into her into the hallway, and he's like, hey, P.D. Parker. He embarrasses himself. There's a lot of that stuff in this show so far that's done really, really well.
Yes.
Him just being a total dorcas.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because they also made him not a school shooter. And I was curious if they were going to do that at all, but they've just fully avoided it. Because in that original...
he's a school web shooter.
Well, in Amazing Fantasy 15, Peter Parker's 100% a school shooter. Yes. Like, it's not even like, he's like, I will make all of you one day, you will all pay for the way that you treat me.
I mean, a lot of the early Lee Ditko stuff, when he's talking about high school, he's like, if you knew the power I could have over you.
That's like, really...
You look at it now, it's like...
But it's realistic. That's the thing, is that it is realistic. Yeah. But also I understand why you don't want to do that here. Like, that is just, again, not the vibe. Like, there's a different version of Spider-Man that you want to do that and have that vibe and have the incel makes good.
Well, it's funny because that was one of the things when they did the original Ultimate Spider-Man, not the current one, but the original one where he's back to being a teenager and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And one of the complaints with that was people were like, well, he's not a nerd. He's not a loner nerd. He's got friends and stuff. And it's like, looking at it now, it's like, well, yeah. Like you, because even then, like I think Bendis and everyone at Marvel is like, we can't have him be that much of a loner now
Yeah.
because Columbine, like
Yeah, no,
these
it's a
things.
different archetype. Like, in
Yeah,
the early 60s, that archetype was really different, and that archetype doesn't exist in the same way anymore.
yeah,
All of our nerds like that are like, they're either evil or they're well-meaning and autistic. Those are
yeah,
the only that's all that you got. You got either Big Bang Theory or a guy shooting up a school.
yeah.
Those are the only choices that you have anymore. There's no such thing as Revenge of the Nerds
No,
guys, like
no.
that wide swath of different kinds of dorks or whatever. Yeah. So anyway, he has a big crush on Pearl. This is really great stuff because I love the idea. This is like such a good high school thing, like where you have a crush on somebody who is like 2 years older than you, but like in this scenario, that is a
It's
enormous gap.
unbelievable. Yeah, you
And
can't get past it.
and in case we're not sure that this was a woke show, Nico also has a crush on her. So they
Yes,
both have a crush on Pearl. Again, Pearl is a character from the comics. She's Wave. She's a member of Agents of Atlas.
sure, if you say so.
She was created in 2019.
Yep, there you
She's
go.
a new character. So that's pretty interesting. And she's one of those characters who they pull a couple of like really obscure characters in this who are Marvel characters, but who are like hyper obscure. And I think the reason why they did that was because when they were going to make it canon, they couldn't have anybody that would ever show up in a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
So like later on, one of the kids in the lab, the girl with the short hair, that's Taskmaster's daughter, whose
Really?
supervillain name is Finesse,
Okay.
and who has appeared like in some Wasp comics. Like, I mean, like
Okay.
seriously, like
Yeah.
not anything. Like she's not been in anything.
Yeah.
And so that's a character they probably said, oh, we feel very safe taking her. But now that it is not canon, I think it just makes you feel really
But they
fresh.
have Amadeus Cho, who is a larger character.
That is actually really interesting, is that Amadeus Cho definitely has a huge chance of showing up in the movies. And I am very curious about that.
Yeah.
I wonder if they were, I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but Amadeus Cho didn't become a Hulk for a long time in the comics. He was Mastermind Excello for a long time.
Okay.
And he ran around, did a lot of stuff as Mastermind. And I wonder if they were going to introduce him in the show and have him be Mastermind and then maybe Hulk in a movie.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. Maybe they added him in later after they knew they weren't going to be canon anymore. I
wonder who the Wakanda girl was originally. Because she couldn't be from Wakanda.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I just realized that. I didn't realize
Yeah.
I didn't realize it at the time. Wow. Yeah, that would not be a Wakandan, would it?
Nope.
They are a hidden country at this point.
Yes.
Very interesting. Peter's in class and he is daydreaming. He's sketching the actual Spider-Man costume.
He is.
And there's a police chase that goes by, and he goes like, "Can I go to the bathroom?" And he gets involved in the police chase. I love this. Like, I think the show's really good about like keeping things moving.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that about it. Things really hustle along, and I like this. This is the scene from Civil War.
Right, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the scene from Civil War where he stops the car about to hit the bus, and that's what Tony Stark is watching on the phone. And he's like, "Is this you?" So Peter comes back to school, and it turns out that Pearl has a boyfriend already. And this is my only actual problem with this whole show, is that it's Lonnie Lincoln. And my problem with this is that Lonnie Lincoln in everything else is Tombstone.
Yeah.
He's an albino. He's born that way.
Yeah.
I'm kind of not psyched for a thing where he gets bleached white from whatever turns him into Tombstone.
Sure.
I'm kind of not psyched about that. Like, I think him being an albino, I think is really interesting and really rare. I also understand, like, in terms of like a woke show, do you want to have the only albino character be a villain who eventually shaves his teeth into fangs?
But I mean, I guess the question is, are they going to make him into Tombstone in the show?
I think you don't make him Lonnie Lincoln unless you're thinking about it.
Right.
And
So why not go all the way?
And the thing is that Spider-Man in his early days has a really good history of having villains come out of his social circle.
Sure.
So this is not even like cheap. This is like, definitely, how it used to work,
Yeah.
So
Chair.
what's wrong with your chair, buddy?
It just keeps sinking today.
Are you too fat now?
I might be.
You're too fat.
Maybe.
I'm too fat. I'm without a doubt too fat. And Peter's really jealous about Lonnie Lincoln, and they do a little switcheroo on us because they're going to do lab partners, and Peter's like, "Oh, I'm going to become a lab partner with Pearl," and Nico's like, "Oh, I'm going to become your lab partner, right?" And but then Lonnie raises his hand first and says, "I want to be lab partners with Peter Parker," and Peter's like, "What the fuck?" And it turns out Lonnie Lincoln's a good dude.
Yes.
And he's a nice guy, and he's smart.
I do think they missed out on a good bit here, though. Is when Lonnie's like, "Hey, I want Peter Parker to be my lab mate."
Yeah.
And the teacher's like, "Yeah, that's fine, whatever." And they cut to them now sitting together. In the back, it should have been Nico with Pearl. Like, because Nico also has a thing for Pearl. So I think that was
but I kind of like that Nico doesn't, because I think that in the next episode when she goes to the party and stuff, I think it's important that Nico be Peter's best friend and Peter keep letting her down. That's a really classic.
No, I
Peter
agree.
Parker thing.
But I
so
don't
if she has Pearl, that I think undercuts that a little bit.
I mean, she has a conversation with Pearl in the second episode. They're talking and goofing around.
No, but they're not lab partners, and then that creates the sense that maybe they're, because like obviously Lonnie and Peter become friends.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like he's going to see him play football. Yeah. And so I think that on some level, I think you don't want Nico to have fallback people. I think you want Peter to keep letting her down, because I think that is the classic Spider-Man thing.
Yes.
That his dual life, he can't manage it.
Yeah, that's true.
We see Lonnie go home up to 125 up in Harlem.
Well, this right here is a classic Spider-Man bit. But kind of a little reversed, although this would happen from time to time in Spider-Man, where Peter's like, "Look at this guy, his life is perfect. Why can't my life be like that?" But in reality, this guy's got his problems too. And that was something that Lee and Ditko would do all the time.
They did all the time, yeah, because Peter was like really self-centered and could not imagine other people had problems. He thought everybody was better off than him.
Yeah.
And so we see Lonnie take the subway up to home, and a white lady and her kid won't sit next to him. And then he gets off the subway, and the cops come with the cherries lit up on top of the roof, and they're like giving him like the eye. And then he gets home, and he has a really wonderful, nice family. Like a really just a decent mom and dad, and he has a good family life. And he's like, "Hey mom, I talked to the shop teacher about your car. I think I know how to fix it." Like, he's a good kid. That's why I think he's going to be a villain.
Yeah.
Because he's too good. Like, like you're setting him up to have a twist.
To have a fall. Yeah.
To have a fall. Like, it's just, he's such a good guy. That, either that or he has to get killed, which I don't know if the show's going to go there. One or the other, you know what I mean? Like, he's too good, and his life is too, even though he has the racial stuff, his life is just really like full of love and support.
Ooh.
What?
I guess that doesn't work.
This is a podcast.
No, I know. I was just thinking though, like, what if he was the one who picked up the bag with the spider in the beginning, and he ends up being Venom? But no,
I don't think so.
He's what a junior, right, at the school, so he's already been there for a couple of years. So.
Yeah. Well, this is just a couple of months after the.
No, but Lonnie is 2 years ahead of Peter.
Yeah.
Right. So, and he's like on the football team and stuff. Like, clearly, he's been around for a while at this school.
Oh, so you're saying he didn't get powers that made him
that spider or something?
Okay.
Yeah. Because I was thinking like, oh, that maybe like he has like a piece of the symbiote or something. He was there, and now he's got a piece of the symbiote, and he'll become Venom. But no.
We then cut to Spider-Man catching a crook, and this is the scene that convinced me that I think this show is going to be real good.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be real good, because he catches this woman who had stolen money from the pizza place, and he has the woman webbed up, and he brings her back to the pizza place with the money she took. And she's like, "Please, please, please. I had just had a rough patch, and I saw the money, and I just impulsively took it." And Spidey convinces the pizza guy to let her go.
Yes.
They do set up that there's a now hiring sign in the window, and I was really convinced
that's where we were going. That's what it was going to be. Yeah. Yeah.
But I love that that's Peter's take on it. Like, I love, again, this is not a classic early Spider-Man. This is
No.
a different kind of Spider-Man in terms of personality. This is a much more modern Spider-Man. Like, he's grown into this guy in the comics.
Yeah.
But I love this, that he's like, no, just give this lady a chance. She's not a bad person. And then I like that the pizzeria guy takes somebody else's pizza and gives it to Peter.
Just gives him somebody else's pizza.
However, I will say something here that I had a real problem with that almost ruined the show for me.
That Spider-Man swings away with the pizza under his arm and it's definitely ruined.
Fucking, I cannot believe they did that. Like,
Infuriated me.
It was
Infuriated me.
So upsetting.
Yeah.
Like I understand.
I also, by the way, think about that whenever I watch in Spider-Man 2, I think it is, right? Where he's got the job as the pizza delivery guy and he's swinging around as Spider-Man with all the pizzas.
Oh yeah,
Those are ruined. And then there's the one that he drops and the dude opens it up to have a slice and Spider-Man webs it away from him. That slice is definitively ruined. You got webbing on it. Gross. I always think about that whenever I watch the movie. Like, all those pizzas are destroyed.
I don't understand. Every single human being alive watching this has the experience of having a pizza. Like, that's the thing.
We all know what happens if
you
the
hold
pizza
it like
gets
that.
jumbled up. Yeah.
Like, this is not one of those things where it's like, oh, that's very niche. Like, nobody actually knows it. No, everybody fucking knows if you hold a pizza sideways, all the cheese is going to run off one side. Like, that's the deal.
Yeah.
No, actually, do you know who's never had a pizza?
Who?
Ringo Starr.
Bullshit.
He gave an interview where he said he's never had pizza.
Bullshit.
And he's never had curry.
Bullshit.
He says
didn't they live in India for like a year?
They live for a couple of weeks. He says that he has stomach problems and that the kinds of ingredients that are, I think it sounds like he has an acidic issue because tomatoes might be heavy in both. But he says he's never had pizza.
I find that very hard to believe.
Imagine that you're Ringo Starr, you're in the Beatles, and there's one thing you can't have, and that's pizza. Is it worth it? Is it all worth it if you can't have pizza? Is being a Beatle worth it at that point?
That's why he wants to live under the sea. There's no pizza. There's no pizzas in the ocean.
So Peter changes over into Peter Parker from Spider-Man, and while he's doing that in an alleyway, he finds a DVD player sitting on top of a garbage can. He's like, "It's the best day of my whole life." And we now have basically a recreation of the scene from Civil War where Peter comes home and finds Tony Stark in the house.
Yes. I have a massive problem in this sequence, by the way.
What's that?
Peter takes a selfie with the car.
Yeah.
And then we see him posting it.
Yeah.
As he's posting it, it's already got 2 likes. It hasn't gone live yet. He's writing the caption. It's got 2 likes. It drove me crazy. I was literally like, I don't understand how this works.
Well, that's because
what is happening.
That's because you're not a power user, so you don't understand how the power user works. It's different. It's different for the power user.
Yeah, you can post and then add your caption afterwards.
Maybe he's editing it. Maybe he posted about a caption and says, "No, I need a caption on this. I need something funny."
Maybe. I don't know. All I know is
I've done that myself a couple of times. I've done that a couple of times myself.
It's very upsetting to me. It said 2 likes.
They really recreate the scene. Like, he walks past somebody in the hallway. There's somebody sitting at the end of the hallway on the floor. And then he walks into the apartment. All of it is 100% Civil War. And I think it's really clever because it's such a famous Civil War scene that most people watching it who are Marvel people will go, "Oh my God, this is the Tony Stark bit." It is not. It's Norman Osborn.
Yes.
And it's Coleman Domingo playing Norman Osborn. Big shockaroonie. Next episode, we open with...
Not that shocking. We all knew he was cast.
Well, I mean, that Norman Osborn's in the living room. It turns out that Norman Osborn is there because he's offering Peter an internship. It's the exact same setup as Tony Stark. And he says, "I have seen that your academic achievements are incredible, especially considering that you ended up at a school you weren't supposed to be at and all this turmoil. So I want to offer you this internship." And do you think that's true?
It seems like it so far. I mean, we'll see what happens, right? But who knows?
It does. I mean, I don't know what to make of the fact that everybody else in this intern program is a superhero.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's just the show or if like Norman Osborn's doing a thing. And Norman Osborn is one of those characters that I'm not sure if he's doing a thing. Like, he's one of those characters that I would accept that he was doing a thing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Like if it's revealed later, like in the next episode, in episode 3, he's like, I've known about you for a while, then I'll be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Because it's interesting that he already saved Harry, right? So he already saved
Yeah.
Harry. So does that put Spider-Man on Norman Osborn's radar? And is it very easy for him, just like Tony Stark, to figure out who Spider-Man is?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? That's the thing. So is he actually getting Spider-Man? So the end of this episode leaves that up in the air because it's a big reveal, but we don't know what his next sentence is going to be.
No.
So anyway, it's going to be paid too. It's going to be a paid internship. And Peter does another save on the way to school, and then he goes and he meets the football team. None of whom is
By
Flash
the way,
Thompson.
that other guy, he breaks that guy's back. Because we see that guy go flying into a chimney, and the chimney cracks.
The chimney cracks, yeah.
And then he webs him to it. That guy's spine is shattered.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
And later on, Spider-Man does say, I still haven't figured out my own strength.
Yeah, no, that's 100% part. Yeah. That's 100% part of the deal.
You murdered a 13-year-old yesterday, and today you've broken this man's spine. So,
all of the football guys are really cool. They're all sweet.
Yes,
they're all little sweethearts. And they have a big game that night, and they're doing like their pre-game ritual with the trophy. And when Lonnie learns that it's Peter's first day as an intern at Oscorp, he's like, "Oh, you need the luck. We're going to be okay. So let's do the thing with you." And they do like the little chicken dance or whatever. Again, very sweet.
He rubs the statue rubs the statue. The trophy. Yeah.
Nico is not psyched that Peter has an internship with Norman Osborn. She thinks that he is a scumbag.
Yes.
So here's the thing. Nico in the comics is the daughter of supervillains.
Yes.
Do you think that's the case here too?
Maybe.
You think her origin's going to remain?
Perhaps. We'll see.
They lived in LA, so
they've obviously already made this 3 seasons, they said. So
it's already 3 seasons.
We got time. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, is that when you get 3 seasons, you might as well give characters powers to some.
Yeah.
So I've been catching up on Amazing Spider-Man. I'm still like a year and a half behind. I just fell off, and I've been catching up on it. And I caught up on the storyline. When Zeb Wells came on, he opens his story 6 months after the last issue. And everybody hates Spider-Man. And Spider-Man did something terrible. And none of his friends will talk to him anymore.
Uh-oh.
And and then also Mary Jane has this guy that she lives with and 2 kids. Paul and 2 kids. So I finally got to the storyline where they explain what that's all about. It is not good at all. And it is especially not good because they spent 20 issues building up to it. So it's like, wow, that's really it, huh? There is like an Aztec demon from another universe he wants to get in here, and he has like a guy that he works through, and they end up in this alternate. Spider-Man and Mary Jane end up in this alternate Earth where that demon has taken over that alternate Earth. It's a post-apocalyptic place, and Paul already lives there. He's from that Earth, and time on that Earth moves really differently than it does here. So like 2 hours here is like 3 weeks over there.
Okay.
So immediately they get attacked by this thing. A whole big part of it is that the thing exists as in quantum symbols. And so there's like a lot of stuff about like symbology, and you have to make symbols and stuff like that, which is interesting. I don't think it's well done, but it's interesting. Anyway, Mary Jane saves Peter's life and shunts him back to the main universe. When he falls from the main universe, he hits so hard that he creates an almost nuclear explosion. Which already I'm like, okay, that's stupid as shit. He knows he has to go get Mary Jane because time moves differently over there. He knows that like it's not been 3 minutes. It's been already days for her. So he's like, I'm going to hurry. He tries to steal stuff from the Fantastic Four, and he won't tell them why. And so they have a fight, and then Captain America shows up, and he fights Captain America. He's like, I can't tell you, Steve. I don't have time to tell you, Steve. I know.
That's my least favorite kind of storytelling.
Drives me nuts.
Where it's like, hey, I was trapped in this other reality, and there's still people trapped there.
And time moves differently.
Much faster.
Like every single one of these people get that. Like there's not one of these guys who go, that actually happened to Captain America. Like he had a kid in another reality that would time move differently.
Happened to all of them.
Just fucking say it,
They would
man.
all be like, yeah, that happened to me 3 days ago. We've
Yeah.
already got all the tech. Not a problem.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like you wouldn't have to explain much to these guys at all. Like it's just
No.
like so nuts to me. Like it's like,
Yeah.
and I hated it. Like I was so that really upset me, and it didn't feel motivated. So
Yeah.
he gets the tech, and finally Captain America's like, okay, we know that he's a good guy. He needs this tech for real, and he goes and he saves Mary Jane. But months have passed in the other dimension, and her and Paul have been traveling around, and they found two orphan kids.
Mm.
And they've been living as a family in a bunker for months and months and months and months.
Sure.
And so that's where Paul came from, and that's where the kids come from. So then they come back to the world, and they're there for a little while, but this demon shows up again. And long story short, Paul has to die to get rid of the demon. The kids also die. And Mary Jane, while she was in this other world, got quantum luck powers. And so now she's a superheroine called Jackpot because her powers manifest as images from a slot machine on her wrist.
Fuck you.
And in this story, the demon's trying to kill Mary Jane for whatever reason, he has to kill her. And Ms. Marvel shows up to help, and Ms. Marvel takes Mary Jane's form, and the demon kills her. And that's how Ms. Marvel died. It's not good.
Fuck you.
It's not good, man. And I like the rest of this run. This Zeb Wells run I like a lot. Like I really think he's really, really good. I just went out over skis on this storyline. Like it just doesn't work. And
that sounds terrible.
It's really not great. However, then I read the Death of a Friend comic, which I cried 3 different times reading that comic book. It is because all that it is that Kamala's family is having like a Muslim a service for her where they're going to sit there and they're all going to take turns reading the entire Quran. And as it goes on, more people keep showing up. Like Wolverine shows up like dressed like an imam. And then everybody shows up. Like the whole Marvel universe shows up.
Does Dr. Doom show up and cry?
No, he does not show up and cry. But like it's really like nice. It's just the service. It's just the characters at the service. Yeah. And it's just them reminiscing about their experiences with her. And they're all sitting there reading the Quran. And like there's like a little, it's not action. There's like a little bit of a thing that happens between 2 characters who have a storyline that is running elsewhere. But like actually what happens is that outside the service, Wrecker, I think, takes an armored car, and all of the Marvel superheroes walk out of this mosque.
That's pretty fun.
And he's like, "All right, I give myself up." Like literally,
that's like that bit from DC's Invasion, the post-invasion Justice League. I don't know if it was an annual or if it was a special double-sized issue or whatever. But they're having a party at the embassy with all the heroes because they saved the day, and then like 3 Khund warriors who were like shrunk and stuck in a box.
Yes, that's right. I remember this.
And they come running out of the kitchen and they're like, "We will take over the world!" And they see all the heroes there.
Yeah, it's so good.
So although in that every hero runs and destroys the entire embassy because they're all trying to get through the door and stuff. Because
Peter goes to the football game and watches for a little while, and then he.
Wait, that's the end of your story about the comics? Yeah, I thought that was going somewhere.
No, I mean there's more comic. That's the end of it. Because I said the whole thing about you got to eventually all the characters get superpowers.
Yeah,
and Mary Jane they resisted for decades.
Yeah,
but now she
kept resisting. Lois Lane has superpowers now too, so. Yeah,
that just it ends up happening because you begin to run out of stories to tell with these side characters. Like there's only so many human stories that you can tell, and whatever that keep them engaged with the main character. Like eventually they drift apart. So like that's the reason why they keep giving everybody powers. Yeah. They want to keep them in the story.
The Miss Marvel thing I like because I guess they did that whole funeral for a friend, and then she was back like a week later.
So. She was back so soon, like immediately back. Yeah, like they wait. I gotta give them credit; they didn't waste time. They didn't waste anybody's time on that one.
It's almost like, why'd you do it in the first place?
They did it in the first place because they needed to make her not be an Inhuman anymore.
Yes,
she was came back to life from the X-Men, and she's revealed that she's actually a mutant.
Yeah,
but she's an Inhuman who's a mutant.
Yeah.
So that's the deal. So, but yeah, it really immediately brought her back to life a couple weeks later.
Like,
Anyway,
why even have a funeral if the X-Men be like, hey, we can just take her to Krakoa and bring her back to life?
nobody knew she was a mutant. Only mutants could do that.
How did they figure it out?
How did the mutants figure it out?
Yeah, how did they figure out that she was a mutant to take her to Krakoa and bring her back to life?
I think Cerebro told them. I can't remember. I read it, but I can't remember how they
Did
did it.
Cerebro tell them in an editor's note?
Probably.
Is that how it was?
I mean, that might have been. I can't remember. I don't remember what the exact way that it worked was.
Kevin Feige showed up. He's like, we're doing this because I want her to be part of the X-Men in the movies and stuff.
That is what happened.
Yeah.
That's the according to the comics people, that is the most interference they've ever gotten from Marvel Studios was this, that he wanted her to become a mutant.
Yeah. But she should have been a mutant from the beginning.
She obviously was supposed to be a mutant from the beginning. It's not even a question. Like, it's like one of those things where
that was because
of another thing with the movies. Yeah.
What's his face didn't want to do any new mutants and stuff. Yeah.
Right. So So it is just too bad that she got her death story and that special is actually very touching and very moving, and then it's like immediately undone and it's meaningless. So anyway, Peter leaves the football game late, as Peter does all the time. He makes it to Oscorp. He watches the video on the wall of Norman Osborn throwing himself a football. He's a regular guy. He throws himself a football. And he turns out even though he's 2 minutes early, he's late because he was supposed to get there 15 minutes early. And he goes and meets the other interns. There's Amadeus Cho, who's a real jerk. And then there's Asha from Wakanda, as you said, should not be there. But again, this is a different continuity. So there are no Osborns there's no Oscorp in the MCU.
No.
Then we meet Jean Foucault, who that is Taskmaster's daughter in the comics. So Amadeus Cho does feel like a character who's going to definitely show up in the movies.
I would think so.
Yeah, it really does feel that way. His version of the Hulk is called Brawn, which I like because he's a super genius, so he's brains and brawn. I kind of like that as like a playful thing.
Yeah, it's good. I like that.
Yeah. So, and he's got like
also, he's really good at cleaning stuff up.
He's got a lot of story. Like he's got a ton of story. He's been around for a long time at this point.
Yes.
I forget how long things have been happening. Like he was introduced well before Civil War too.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe he was introduced during Civil War, right before Civil War, because the 50 State Initiative, he ends up getting, it's like a whole bunch of shit. There's like a ton of stuff. I mean, anyway. And then Paul F. Tompkins is their teacher, who is very mad about having to take care of these interns. And
now, can I say something?
Yeah.
I got very upset when Paul F. Tompkins showed up.
Why?
Because I don't understand how you're making a Spider-Man cartoon and you have Doctor Strange in the first episode and you've hired Paul F. Tompkins and you don't have Paul F. Tompkins voicing Doctor Strange. It just seems obvious to me.
Why would you do that?
Because he's got that right snooty jerk voice to him. He's good at that. He's got that good Doctor Strange voice.
I mean, they got another guy. Dr. Whitman's a real piece of shit.
He is.
He's really awful. The show had been so positive up until then that I was really relieved to see a guy who sucks. Like, just sucks. Like, I was like, hey, this guy really just stinks. We might find out stuff about him later on that he's,
sure,
it's not his fault or whatever. But I like that. He gives each of the kids, he makes them go through these tests to see what their aptitude is. And Peter really wants robotics. But he does not get it. Amadeus Cho gets it. Instead, he gets Carla Connors, a one-armed black lady who is in energy research.
Yes.
So she's obviously a gender and race swapped Kurt Connors. And I find that interesting. And I also think it's weird that they're in energy research.
Yeah, that seemed weird to me.
But you know what? If we go back, the idea that she could end up having a thing like where she's trying to figure out animals that generate electricity. That's that same thing from the Electro origin in Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, I think that might be like where it goes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Maybe. It just seems like the thing that they're doing feels much more of like an Otto Octavius kind of deal.
But he's in this.
Yes.
We saw him. Yeah, we saw him in the next episodes coming up this season on.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, there's Doc Ock is there. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was very interesting. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with her. I mean, maybe they're going to honor the Sam Raimi movies and have her never become the Lizard.
I would be all for that if that's the ongoing joke now. Is the Lizard just never turns into the Lizard, except for the one bad movie. Yeah.
So they had been invited to a party. Peter and Nico get invited to the football party, the after party, and they can't believe it. It's like, wow, that's crazy. We're getting invited to the party.
I'm sorry. Do you think in the third, in what is it, Spider-Man No Way Home, there must have been at some point in the script a joke about that, right? Because Kirk Connors, he's there in the movie as the Lizard. And you have the two Spider-Mans. You have Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
And if at some point Andrew Garfield was like, "Oh, that's Dr. Kirk Connors," he was doing the thing and blah blah blah, and then just have Tobey Maguire be like, "Oh, I know a Kirk Connors. That never happened to him," and just leave it at that.
I guess conceptually it might have happened after because Spider-Man has a career after the movies.
Yes.
So potentially it could have happened.
Yeah.
So while the kids are waiting after doing their tests and their initial like meetings with their mentors, and Dr. Connors is very cool. Like Peter and Dr. Connors get along really well. She thinks he's great.
Yeah, much to the chagrin of Paul F. Tompkins.
Yeah, he really hates it. He really hates it. The kids are sitting around watching TV. They're like flipping through the channels, and there's a news report about a fire, and Peter really awkwardly and badly excuses himself from the group. I mean, really badly, like truly. Yeah. Again, I appreciate it though. Like I appreciate that level of clownishness coming. Yes. And he goes and he goes to find the fire, and it turns out that there's a guy inside the fire. Peter goes in looking for people to rescue, but there's a guy with like flame suit, and his name is Butane. And as far as I know, he's a new character. I'm not familiar with this guy. Crazy that there's nobody named Butane though.
Yeah, it's a good name.
By the way, they when they were going through the channels on the TV, there's Crusher Hogan shows up.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, there's a wrestling. Yeah, there's a wrestling bit, and one of the things they scroll past is Crusher Hogan. So it turns out this guy has been hired to burn down these buildings so that they can build development on it.
Yeah. He's also made sure that nobody else is in the buildings.
Right. He made sure he goes, yeah, I'm not a bad guy. I'm just here to burn this thing down. People can build things and make money. And then it turns out that he's in the wrong apartment buildings, which I think is really funny. It's really funny. And again, that feels really Spider-Man-y. That feels really Spider-Man-y. And I want to say that when he is Spider-Man, the show does a really good job of having him slinging one-liners and insults. I think it does a really, really good job of that.
Yeah.
And then he gets into a fight with Spider-Man in the building, and Spidey punches him, and he flies through the wall downstairs into the pet shop across the street. And Spider-Man's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Very funny. And then we have what is actually my actual favorite scene of these two episodes, which is Spider-Man running around the pet store trying to save the animals while Butane is chasing him, trying to kill him. Yeah. And I just thought it was great. I just thought it was fantastic. It's so good. It's so good. And it's a good fight scene.
It reminded me of Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah, very much so. I would not be surprised if that was part of the inspiration.
Yeah.
But it's like so great. Like, it's just like, we have talked about this so many times on this podcast. We want to see superheroes saving people. Yes. And even though this is technically not people and this is technically a fight, I like that Peter's first instinct is to go save the puppies and the kittens. I love when he puts the mice next to the snake and realizes he can't. It's so good.
Yeah, that was good. That was well done.
And I like it because also, like, it creates a different kind of stakes. Like, we know he can kill this guy. Like, it's not even a question. But then the stakes become he has to save these animals. And that's making him distracted, and that's making it difficult, yada, yada, yada. Eventually, he throws Bunsen into... Bunsen, it's not Bunsen, it's Butane. I'm thinking Bunsen burner.
The Muppets.
They're also Muppets. Into a giant fish tank, and then he gets knocked out, and his fire goes out. Peter's like, did I knock you out? I knocked you out. He's very excited to have knocked the guy out.
And then he realizes all the fish are going to die, so he's got to pick them up.
I was so happy about that because when that happened, too. I was like, oh, but the fish are going to die. But then, it's a cartoon. They don't care. They got to just move through it. But no, they make a big point out of Peter picking up all of the fish. It's so
I like
good.
That. I like that.
He notices that Butane's his flame suit has an Oscorp logo on it,
Yeah.
which seems like a thing you don't want to do if you're supplying your
Not a
technology
great
to
idea.
villains.
Not a
Yeah,
great
just
idea.
don't put the logo on it, or put a
Yeah.
sticker over it at least. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like just,
put your competitor's logo on it.
that rocks on. That's exactly it. Meanwhile, Nico, who's at the party, is having a miserable time. She's just miserable. She's sad. She's lonely. Peter Parker's doppelganger walks into the party, and she gets excited about that, but it's not Peter. I like that a lot too, actually. I've had that exact experience before.
Oh, yeah.
Where I'm at a party and I don't want to be there and I don't know anybody. And then somebody who I think is my friend shows up and then I'm like, oh, I'm embarrassed now. She leaves. She's like, I'm going to go home. I don't want to be here anymore. So again, that's classic being friends with Peter Parker shit. Like that's 100% the deal. So Peter goes back to Oscorp and everybody's like, where the fuck have you been, dude? Which I also liked as well, because very often in these kinds of stories, people are like, oh, there's Parker. He's finally showed back up. But everybody's like, where the fuck have you been? Like you disappeared off campus. Like, and Paul Thompson's like, you can't leave this building. Like you're not allowed to go out of this building while we're here. And they say, oh, you've been, Norman Osborn wants to see you. Peter takes it immediately he's getting fired. But when he came to Oscorp, Norman had told him, tell them at the desk to send you right to me.
Yeah.
And they don't do that. So
no, everyone doesn't believe him.
Nobody believes him, which is, again, funny. That's like a really good, again, a good Spider-Man bit. That's a very, very good Spider-Man bit. But I don't know why. I guess because he's Peter Parker, but he really jumps immediately to I'm getting fired and not, oh, he wanted to see me.
Well, because he was supposed to be gone for 15 minutes. He's been gone for like an hour. Like,
yeah, no, I know.
Everyone's yelling at him. I think it works.
Yeah, I guess so. I just, yeah, you're right. He goes up to Norman's office. There's a picture of Norman Osborn and Captain America on the wall.
Yeah.
He walks into Norman's office and it's a giant office and he immediately launches into like, oh, Mr. Osborn, I wish I could tell you why, but it was so important that I had to leave. I can't tell you. I just not allowed to tell you. And Norman Osborn just turns his fucking computer screen around and goes, hey, so you're Spider-Man. And it's footage of him in the fucking stairwell changing into a Spider-Man costume.
Yes.
And then that's where it ends.
Yep.
But the thing is, as we had said earlier, I think that Norman Osborn already knew that.
He might.
And that's why he wanted Peter there.
Yeah.
That
makes sense. That makes sense.
Because he knew that Peter would, that's the reason why he said, Peter, come see me first, because he knew he couldn't say it in front of Aunt May.
Sure.
And he didn't have Tony Stark's, hey, can I bring this teenage boy into his bedroom and close the door?
Always a creepy bit. Yep.
Yeah, it's always creepy as shit. He's like, let's go into your bedroom and close the door.
Let's go in your room, Peter.
It's so weird. But also by having the footage, it saves Norman the whole, I know you're Spider-Man. And Peter goes, I'm not. You're crazy. Why would you think I'm Spider-Man? He goes, look, here's the footage. You're Spider-Man. I know it. I already knew it, but I know it now. So that's what I think is going to happen next.
That makes sense. I think that makes sense.
So that's our two first episodes. What'd you think of these two?
It's good. I like the story. I like the characters. I like the art style. I don't like the animation. I think it looks like video game cutscenes. I think there's a lot of issues with the background when it comes to that kind of thing. Like there's that whole car chase sequence and Spider-Man's like in the middle of the street, Web and stuff. And there are people just walking down the street. Like they're like NPCs that are just on a rail. Right. The whole bit when he's talking to Lionel about the trophy, and just in the background, the characters are just celebrating, but they're just doing the same. They're like,
It's Lonnie, not Lionel.
Lonnie. I'm sorry, Lonnie. And they're like, woo.
Yeah.
Woo. And it a lot of that stuff felt very on rails video game cutscene stuff, or just like background stuff. And that's a little annoying to me.
I gotta tell you,
the art style looks great. I don't think it works well with the animation.
I got to tell you that I think that kind of thing is modern audiences accept that so much because that is the anime standard.
Is it?
Yeah, I feel like repetitive movement is just like
No,
the
repetitive
anime
movement is one
thing.
thing, but not reacting to what's happening in the scene.
Oh yeah, that's weird because they animated it. I don't really understand why
Yeah,
they animated it that way. I honestly don't understand why.
yeah,
Um, but I think the art's great. The actual designs and stuff are fucking incredible. Like it really
yes,
has Romita meets Ditko, early Spider-Man comic feel to it.
yeah,
They do panels sometimes, and it doesn't feel cheap.
no,
It feels like it fits because of the art style.
yes,
And I like that a lot. I agree that the animation doesn't. It's 2D design jammed into 3D animation, and so it doesn't ever quite gel. And it feels like often like the characters are like cutouts gliding in front of each other and stuff like that. It's a little
yeah,
weird sometimes, but I'm okay with that. I'm going to tell you the truth. After this is going to sound shitty, but after Creature Commandos, which I felt like it was like so choppy, the animation that the action animation was so choppy. This is pretty smooth, and
this is smoother. Yeah,
I
the
can really,
animation in this is smoother for
I
sure.
can really, I can forgive a lot if I don't feel like every second frame is dropping out,
Okay,
which is how I felt watching a lot of Creature Commandos. I felt like they were
yeah,
just not, it had that like that Hanna Barbera feel, like really like they're only animating the bare minimum of what they have to animate, and here it just has it's a lot more fluidity to the
yeah,
motions, and I think I like the Spider-Man swinging sequences. I think they do a nice job with those,
yes,
and I think
yes,
it's fun. But I love the tone of it. This is very much what I want out of a certain kind of Spider-Man story,
sure, yeah.
and
No,
and it
I like the tone. I like the characters.
it has that soap opera element already starting,
Yes,
which I think is great. They understand that they need that and that it works, and the audience loves that stuff too. So I'm very hopeful.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to more.
But boy,
Um,
we get a lot more. 3 episodes next week.
3 episodes next week. Yeah. I guess it's interesting that they're burning it off. If they're also like, we're going to renew it for a third season already, it's like, give it some space. Let it like, why are you throwing out all the episodes
I
in like
wouldn't be
4 weeks?
surprised if somewhere in-house somebody was like, "The kids like the binge." They
Yeah.
complain when it's not a binge, and so they're doing halfway. They have
Okay.
bingeable weeks.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the model here, because a
Maybe.
lot of if you go on like Reddit and Twitter, like the younger audiences, they complain about shows that are weekly. They complain about it endlessly. It is like I've been now listen, don't judge me, but I've been going to the Reddit for the pit,
Yeah.
and everybody complains that the show is weekly. Everybody complains about it. So somebody complained that it's not believable that this one guy would get splattered with stuff every single hour, and I was like, man, you just got to watch this. It's
It's
a
just
show,
television.
man.
Yeah. It's a
It's
story,
just,
man.
it's a joke,
It's
like
just a
it's a
running
bit. It's
gag.
a running
Yeah.
gag. Yeah, it's a bit, man. But they were like, this wouldn't happen. And it's like, yeah, of course it wouldn't happen. It's a fucking TV show, and they're trying to make you laugh a little bit. And anyway, people hate the weekly model. A lot of people who came up with Netflix don't like the weekly model.
Well,
So
that's dumb.
I don't disagree with you, but this might be Disney trying to find that middle ground. Like, here's 3 episodes a week, so you can binge it. You can sit there for an hour and a half and binge it, but also it's still going to keep coming out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's my take. I really liked it. I liked it a lot. And I feel like it has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
I also feel like it could get really stupid really
Oh, for
fast.
sure. For
It
sure.
has like it really
But
is.
I would say the best Spider-Man stories can get really stupid really fast.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah,
best
100%.
comic book stories, right? Like they're always on that edge. A good comic book story is always on that edge of like, you're gonna get stupid. If you're gonna take the wrong step, you're gonna get real stupid.
But that's the thing about that Mary Jane story from the comics.
Yeah.
Like, if it was done better, it wouldn't have sucked. But it would have been like
Well,
one of those crazy stories. Like, wow, that shouldn't have worked, and then it did. But
I
it
mean,
does.
the ultimate version of that, where it happened at the same time between the two companies, the return of Jason Todd, the return of Bucky Barnes,
Right.
right? There's no way this can work. Oh, Bucky worked perfectly. A
Yeah.
wonderfully well thought out story. Jason Todd, real stupid. Like, you know, that's the interesting thing of comics. Both the same concept. We're going to bring back these characters, these
Right.
sidekicks that died.
That we thought would
Oh,
never come back.
that we
Like
thought would never come
their
back.
deaths
Yeah.
are too important to ever undo. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, oh no, we brought him back. Oh, one of them is very interesting. One of them is real dumb. Real dumb.
He's very popular though.
Is he?
He
I don't
keeps
know that
showing
he
up
is.
all over the place.
Yeah, he's got a fan base, but I don't know if he's popular.
I think
You know,
the Red Hood's fan base is like the grim and gritty guys, right? They like the violent
I,
heroes.
th- I I think part of it, yeah, sure, but like, the guy can't keep a series going. Like I just
Who
don't
can
think.
anymore?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know.
All right,
You made me
that's
think of, by the way, bringing up Reddit. I do want to share my favorite thing from our shorts
this is
this
Derek
past
loves
week.
R Short. This has
I
become
do.
a phenomenon on the Discord. People going to R
Yes.
Short and doing screen captures.
Now I want to be very clear. I am 5'5". I
Yeah,
am
you're
short.
short. You're a short man.
So
Yeah.
when I am laughing at things on our shorts, I am laughing at my own people.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not goofing on anybody.
Right.
I'm sitting here 6'2" or anything. This was it. Short men are the most hated men in Western society. Gonna have to disagree.
I wish that they had done that Lonnie Lincoln sequence, but he's short. And like the mother comes and sees the kid, sees him and takes her kid, says, "Don't send us to that short little man." And then the cop's like, "Hey, Squirt, what kind of trouble are you going to go sneak your little tiny body into today?" Like, it would be so fucking funny. You can't trust a short. The cop's like, "Short people got no reason to live." Like
Exactly.
they did the Randy Newman. Yeah.
Got their
That's amazing.
little hands, little feet, little voices go tweet, tweet, tweet. Yeah.
R/short.
Beep, beep, beep. Yep. R/short. There's that, and then there's also short men, which actually that one is from short men.
I bet short man's really angry.
Short men is, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is really unsettling in short men. It is very unsettling in there. Like a lot of the ones in there, I'm like, somebody should call the cops. Like this guy's gonna explode real soon. This guy's.
Do you know
not
what's
doing
funny?
well.
So we call that Napoleon complex, but Napoleon wasn't short.
No, he was not.
That's
That comes
crazy.
up 3 times. I've seen that on our short men.
Has it?
Yes.
Oh, are they mad? Are they mad about?
Napoleon wasn't short.
He's not one of us.
That's how much they hate short. There was one where like it was a political cartoon that was like making fun of Trump, and Trump was clearly supposed to be like a little kid.
Yeah.
Like, I want this, I want that kind of deal. And they're like, they just make him short because that's how much they hate short people. It's like, no, he's clearly supposed to be a child in this cartoon. It's got nothing to do with his height.
So good.
Like he's a tall man, but this is what they do because they hate short people so much.
Oh man,
guys, you gotta fucking relax.
Man, oh man.
Being short is not that difficult.
We got to be careful making fun of the R/short because we're going to get talk radioed by one of these tiny guys. They're going to put a bomb in the car and blow one of us up. These little tiny dudes.
This was another good one.
They can get underneath the car, no problem, because they're so small.
I know. Are you scared of your son being taller than you? That one's about like if I have a kid and he's taller than me, I'm going to be jealous of him. It's like, man, you got to relax.
You got
to relax.
Man, oh man. All right. Well, we love our short listeners. Remember, Derek is one of you.
Being short makes me even more impressive.
There you go.
Yeah, that one's good because that guy's like, I get laid all the time. It's not hard, guys. You just got to talk to women. Like that's that guy's attitude. He's like, I'm 5'6". You just talk to people. And yeah, some women are gonna be like, no, you're short. That's okay. That's cool, man. We all have our things that we like and we don't like, so don't worry about it.
2 of my best friends are short, and one of them is married. Well, actually, both of them are married, but one of them is married now. Like he wasn't married when I first knew him.
Yeah,
and he's short, and he was highly successful with the ladies. I mean, like ludicrously successful with the ladies. We lived next door to each other, and I would just get so jealous that like I would come out of my apartment and there would just be some new hot woman leaving his place, and I'd be like, "What the fuck, man? How is this?" I mean, he's an actor and he's handsome, so that's all. Yeah. But he's short, and it doesn't make a difference.
No, most women don't really care.
No,
about the height from really. What I've seen. There are ones that do, sure, but okay. That's it. That's the end of it.
Well, I think if you base a lot of it off of dating apps where people have very specific yeses and nos, but in real life, I think you meet somebody and a lot of that stuff doesn't matter if there's a connection. Like you can
Yeah.
be whatever height or whatever size or whatever that
Yeah.
you maybe say like, blondes only in your dating profile, but then you meet a brunette at the bar and she's great.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this
No,
is
you have your preference. Everyone's got their preferences,
right.
but like that's fine. But I mean, on our short, and especially on our short men, they act like it's a social injustice and they're being discriminated against, and it's we are the most hated in the Western society.
Well, we're going to leave you guys with that thought this week. See you guys again next week for the next 3 episodes of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Until next time, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, may you be well, but most of all, may you remain a true believer.